what you do like that. Low. Beer going on my 9. Let's go. Yes, though. It's Thursday, Ice Week's fire. Phil's gone ghost, but we're taking it higher. Jeremy Lee's in the booth with the boys, talking slabs, grails, and cardboard noise. The sports cards, it's his lifestyle. The sports cards, and he's live now. The Gongshow is buzzing like a patch with a tag. Cup finals burning, no time to lag. We'll make David rise with Florida feast while the hobby kings gather for a wax release feast. The sports cards, it's his lifestyle. The sports cards, and he's live now. Cracking ice like it's fresh off the rink. Clear cut all those paws and things. McJesus going beast to bark off with the wind. Let's rip packs while the hobby spins. Phil's not here, but the slab god stay. So we let it rip every single Thursday. Chasing ass, he think we don't play nice. Skating through checklists all day ice. Loud collectors come, but the vibes ain't chill. We roll deep like a gong show drill. Jeremy Lee, he's the king of the mic. Dropping comps and fire takes on sight. Sick patches, low number frost. Hold your breath, who's the next to get lost? I cold gold or a Zagreus freeze. Ice release got us begging for these. I'm in the zone with the slab in my hand. From Grail Quest to Gong Show, this was the plan. PC strong, but the takes stay free. It's the lifestyle, baby, it's cards and me. Sports cards, it's his lifestyle. Sports cards, and he's live now. Cup dreams clash, who will hold that prize? While we crack fresh wax and chase the highs. It's Ice Week, it's a Gong Show ride. No fill, no rules, we let it slide. Sports cards, it's his lifestyle. Sports cards, and he's live now.
Welcome back to episode 299 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with the sick, the tired, the wounded, Baba Louie, and special guest, Jeremy Lee. Hey, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm good, Josh. Baba Louie. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Baba Louie's got the sniffles, Jeremy.
I heard.
Yeah.
Baba Louie. Get well soon, buddy.
Yeah.
Lots of
Oh gosh.
in the microphone. I think we're gonna have this show, but he's a hockey player, or not, like hockey players, hockey card podcasters. We play sick. That's what we do around here. You are filling in for Phil. We're gonna get it filling in for Phil. We'll get more into that a little bit later. But so first of all, thank you for doing that. And right off the bat, I'm going to pepper you with questions. You were at Edmonton Sport Card Expo. How was that?
It was great. It felt bigger than ever. You know, the square footage, I don't think grew, but it just felt like a big show. And unfortunately, I had to miss the Friday kind of last minute, but I got there Saturday by about 11:30 and made the most of it for the rest of the day. And Sunday, got to interview Marty McSorley and George Larocque on the stage. They were both great. I had a great time. It was short but sweet, and it's such a great show.
Mm-hmm. Was there a lot of extra energy given the fact that the Oilers are in the Cup Finals right now?
Well, I think there was, but on, I guess it was Friday night, the game went into double overtime. So Saturday, everybody seemed a little sluggish to get started. I think they exerted most of their energy Friday night. So by Saturday mid-afternoon, I felt the pace picked up again. People kind of got their second wins.
A rumor has it that prices were a lot more favorable in Edmonton than the last big expo.
You know, I heard similar rumblings. I don't know where you heard that, Louis, but I heard similar rumblings just throughout the show. And, you know, I didn't buy a lot of stuff, but I'll show it when we do PC pickups at the end. I did pick up a few cards that I'm really pleased with. So, yeah, it was just a good show. I think it was very transactional. Lots of velocity as far as the deals were going.
Good. Hobby healthy?
Feels like it. Really feels like it to me. So, it's a great market too. Edmonton's probably the second best market in Canada besides Toronto. So it's a good show.
I heard very similar things to you, Louis, with the exception of McDavid and Draisaitl. Like those were spendy, which you'd kind of expect, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, Josh. If I may, I've recently sold a bunch of cards, and I'm walking through the show and I'm looking in showcases. I'm like, oh, that's my old card. That's my old card.
Oh,
And I
really?
know what it sold for, and I see what you're asking for it. It's kind of an interesting dynamic.
Sure. Well, hey, everyone's trying to make a buck in this hobby, so you can't but what? Something you can't hold that
Fault
against
them.
people.
Can't fault them.
Besmirch, I think was the word I was looking for. Okay, let's get through our announcements and we'll get right into the show. Got to mention GP Sports Cards, the official breaking partner of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. It is ice release week, so the guys at GP are busy breaking new products in both Whatnot and YouTube. GP's still going strong, too, ripping the cup. A ton of spots available to snatch up right now at gpsportscards.com. For the cup, they're doing plenty of case breaks. You can do master case breaks, which are 6 tins, double master, which would be 12. Grant has team selects, random teams, hit select breaks up there too. And then even if you're not in a spot, you can always watch all the breaks go down live on YouTube or Whatnot. Got to shout out our boy Neil and his Discord exclusive show Behind the Bench with IFC. Episode 4 debuted on Tuesday, and Neil covered a very important topic that I am horrible at, and Louis knows this firsthand: storing and organizing your cards. Some people have methods. I don't. I literally have no method. My cards just eat me alive and smother me, and it's like walls that cave in over time until I do like a mass exodus. So I took a lot out of it. He also shared his idea for what to do with if you have like all your leftover base cards or low level inserts, or his ideas. And then we're card bros on a card that he shared too. So it was kind of fun for me to see that. So if you are a Gong Show Discord member, be sure to check it out. And if you're not in our Discord or want to join the internet's #1 lonely men community, you can support our show through Patreon for as little as $5 US a month. Be one of the first 299 supporters of our show. Forever have that title. You get exclusive access to our Discord server, and you can see episodes of Behind the Bench, do some of our challenges, games, 5K challenge. We're doing a scavenger hunt still. We do fantasy hockey. We have people almost every day now joining, and the community has never been stronger, and it's a lot of fun, actually, to hang out with everyone in there. If you want to support us, just go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, and click on the Become a Patron link at the top of the page, or go to Patreon directly, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the show description, and if you're the good listener, there's a link in the podcast descriptions as well. And then finally, in our Instagram and TikTok profiles too. Baba Louie.
Yes.
Clear those sniffles. Let's go with the game plan, buddy.
Let's go with it. But first, we're going to start off with get to know your Hall of Famers. After that, it's a hobby deep dive, Panthers edition. Following that, we'll do some hobby news. Then it's the 5 cards that defined the 1940s with Jeremy Lee.
That's you, Jeremy. You're Jeremy Lee.
It's him. Yeah. Then it's new product releases. And then we'll do a little chat, the great consolidation. Then we'll finish up with personal pickups.
Thank you. We'll get the show started today like we always do with our Get to Know Your Hall of Famers series. It's where we're learning about every single Hockey Hall of Fame player that's ever been inducted. We started with the very first class of 1945 and have been working our way to present day. We're still in the class of 1961. So far, in total, we've profiled now 61 Hall of Famers. So today is number 62. Jeremy, you must be familiar with Hap Day, who's our player today, I assume.
I'm familiar with Hap Day. Yeah, mostly because of cards, I would say. He's not a player that I remember hearing about a ton growing up, but when I started to really get into pre-war cards, his name came up quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely see him a lot, and he has cards. So some of these guys never do. They just have the cardophilium stuff, and that I think helps, right? People learn more about him. So whatever your knowledge of Hap Day is, hopefully we can take something out of today's profile. Charles Henry Happy Day, who would later become known as just Hap Day, lived from 1901 and passed away in 1990. He was born in Owen Sound, Ontario, passed away in St. Thomas, Ontario, was a 5'11", 175-pound defenseman, Played professionally from 1924 until 1938 for the Toronto St. Patrick's, who then became the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then finally the New York Americans. Overall, Day spent 33 years of his life involved in the game of hockey at a professional level as a player, referee, coach, and assistant general manager, or was it assistant to the general manager? I don't know. It's funny with a bunch of these old timers, so many of them were a referee almost immediately after their playing days. Could you imagine, I don't know, Bergeron retiring and then seeing him next season as an on-ice official?
Martian
Wow.
or something.
That would be totally wild. So Day, prior to playing professionally, Day played for the Hamilton Tigers of the OHA in 1922-23, but then joined the varsity team at the University of Toronto as he was enrolled in the school as a pharmacy major. So he intended to be a pharmacist. Day was persuaded to leave the pills behind and turn pro and join the Toronto St. Patrick's in 1924 as a left wing. After his rookie season, he switched to defense, where he'd remain for the rest of his career. By 1926, Day was named captain of the St. Patrick's, and in 1927, when Conn Smythe bought the team and renamed them the Maple Leafs, he decided to retain Hap Day as the team captain of the Leafs as well. As a player, Day would win one Stanley Cup in 1932, captaining the Leafs to the championship. By 1936, he was already transitioning into coaching. While still playing for the Maple Leafs, he also coached the West Toronto Nationals junior team to the Memorial Cup victory. It's kind of crazy. Coach and player in the NHL. After retiring as a player, he spent 2 years as a referee before returning to the Leafs as a coach. He'd win 5 Stanley Cups at the helm of the team in 10 seasons in the 1940s, which you're going to talk about later today, Jeremy. And he'd win one more as the assistant general manager in 1951. Day was elected into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1961, and his number 4 was retired by the Maple Leafs as part of their centennial celebrations in 2016. Why should we care about Hap Day? Hap Day was nicknamed by his peers as the cleanest player in the NHL. In an era of brutal, bare-knuckle hockey, Hap Day stood out for his sportsmanship. He won 4 straight seasons without a single penalty.
Boring.
Wow, that's wild. Reporters used to marvel that Hap Day plays like a gentleman and still wins. What's interesting is the dichotomy between Hap Day and his most famed defensive partner, King Clancy, who together they formed one of the most iconic defensive pairings in NHL history. Day was the calm, calculating general, smart, positionally perfect, and rarely penalized, while Clancy was the firecracker, feisty, fast, and always chirping. Teammates said they were like yin and yang. One talked a mile a minute, Clancy. The other barely spoke a word, which was Day. But together they were nearly unbeatable on the back end. Once, after Clancy tripped a guy and faked innocence, Day calmly skated over and said, "He'll cool down, just skate." The ref laughed and let it go. Hap's reputation often diffused fights that Clancy started. Clancy used to call Hap Day the professor, not just for his stoic attitude, but because Hap was always coaching even while playing. During the 1920s, rosters were small and injuries could leave teams in a bind. In one game, the Leafs lost multiple players early, and Hap Day played the entire game, every single shift without a shift off, a full 60 minutes. Reporters called it a superhuman performance and said he barely looked winded at the end. Like many players of his era, Hap Day had a second job to make ends meet. He worked at a drugstore. On several occasions, he closed up shop, rushed to the rink, and then captained the Leafs to a victory all in the same night. It's amazing what these guys did. When the Toronto St. Patrick's were sold and renamed the Maple Leafs in 1927, Hap Day was, of course, chosen as the first captain of the new era, so technically the first captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That made him not only the team's on-ice leader, but also a key bridge between the old and new in Toronto hockey history. All these stories are so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I almost worry, and I've mentioned this to the boys before, Jeremy, that when we get to like the newer guys, it's like, yeah, he had a trainer at 10, went to Shattuck St. Mary, signed with an agent, was driving a Rolls Royce at 17, and now, scores goals.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing is that, you're going 1 year at a time, so it's not going to really feel like it's a sudden shift from
Yeah.
working a second job to make ends meet to driving the Rolls Royce. It'll slowly transition there, and maybe we as the audience won't notice it as much.
Maybe. Let's look at the Hap Day hobby market. So if you're searching for Hap Day cards, and I'm sure you may have noticed this too, is because of his name and nickname and 8 different ways you can say his name, you have to almost do multiple searches really to find his card. So a lot of his rookies, like in the 1924 Champ Cigarette C144 set, the label is Clarence Day, especially if you're looking for a graded copy. There's no mention of Hap or Happy anywhere on there. Now, savvy sellers will stuff the title with every iteration of his name possible, and that's what I would do too if I was selling a card. But I just wanted to mention that because if you just search for Clarence Day, you'll only find some of the comps. If you just search for Hap Day, you'll only find the other half of the comps. So you pretty much have to do both. So the high selling rookie card is this PSA 7.5, which sold for $8,600 US in June of 2021. And then the next Hap Day Plain Day cards wouldn't appear until the 1933 gum sets or candy sets, whatever you call them. He has a card in all 4. So in the Canadian gum set, which this is your favorite one, right, Louis? Of
Yep.
all the
Correct.
the high sales of PSA 7 sold for $1,147 US in March of 2021. Then Hamilton gum. I like these. It's kind of feels like pop art, like Warhol kind of esque cards to me. The highest sale here is a PSA 8 that sold for $899 US in March of 2016. He is in the 1933 O-Pee-Chee set, and there will be a different background version for all 4 colors. The highest sale this would be the red copy. It's a raw. It sold for $505 US in January of 2022. And then finally is in the 1933 worldwide gum set. High sales of PSA 6 sold for $990 US this past February. There are a few other Hap Day Plain Days cards from the late 30s that you can go find. And then there's a number of cards from his coaching career as well. So now you mentioned that you're familiar with him for vintage. Have you had or do you own any Hap Day cards, Jeremy?
No and no, I never did. There was a time when I was working on the whole Hall of Fame rookie set, and he would have been on there, of course, but I just never got down that deep to add his card. And I likely never will at this point, fortunately or unfortunately. So no,
there's a lot of options, right? And so you have to have, I think, maybe if you were a diehard Maple Leafs fan and wanted to collect Hall of Famers or something like that, that might be your connection.
I really like the Champ cigarette one that you put up. I don't recall seeing that card before. I've seen the Canadian gum, the Hamilton, and like you, Josh, the more I look at the Hamilton cards with that nice, the bright neon backgrounds almost, like I love this black and white, almost sepia tone card. But that Hamilton card, when you made your comments, I was like, yeah, that's such a cool looking card. This one here.
This one right here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's an exceptionally well-centered copy as well, which helps it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really cool.
Very nice. So this is a PSA 6.5. They didn't have a photo of the PSA 8, so I would take this 6.5.
Oh, yeah.
Be very happy with that.
For sure.
All right, boys, that's your Hockey Hall of Famer Hap Day. We're going to roll on from the old into the new, back with another edition of Hobby Deep Dive. It's where we take a hobby topic. We give the good listener 4 options. Throw up the trusty hobby poll on Instagram. There we go. Are you familiar with our hobby poll?
I sure am.
Very, very well known hobby poll. You guys vote, the good listener, good watcher, and then we do a deep dive on the choice that received the most votes. So today we're doing a special Stanley Cup Florida Panthers edition. Everybody knows about all the core. I mean, everybody knows who Connor McDavid is. Everyone knows who the crabby German Leon Draisaitl is. And we've, I don't think anyone wants to deep dive Stewie Skins after that last game. So we gave the mercy rule there. And I chose 4 players from the Panthers. Somewhat controversial. I heard a lot. People were mad that it left people off the 4 choices. But here's the guys I went with. I went with Matty T, Matthew Tkachuk, Sergei Bobrovsky, Brad Marchand, and Sam Bennett. Now, were those the best 4 choices? Or
It's tough to argue. I'm a big fan of Sam Reinhart, so I would have
Yeah.
liked to have seen him in there, but I don't know there's nobody you could
Mm.
really take out. So
Heard about that at Barkov. People were mad that he was off. It's tough. According to Phil, the greatest hockey player of all time.
Mhm.
But yeah. So those are the four I went with. And after the 24-hour vote, here were the results. We'll see if you guys are surprised. We had Matthew Tkachuk with 15% of the vote. Sergei Bobrovsky wins it with 32% of the vote in a close race with Brad Marchand, who's kind of been the story, I think, for the Panthers, or a big part of the story with this playoffs. And then Sam Bennett at 22%.
I like the result.
You do?
Mhm.
What about you, Jeremy?
I voted on this. I voted for Sam Bennett. He's one of my favorite players since he was in Calgary, and I'm happy for his success, his and Tkachuk's down in Florida. But I'm surprised that Bobrovsky won this. Actually, I could have seen it going to Marchand or Tkachuk. I would think Bennett would have come in last. So yeah, I'm surprised by the results.
Mm-hmm. I think Tkachuk's been quiet. Injury or just not playing great or whatever the reason is, that not really shocked there.
And that whole team plays.
What?
That whole team plays 4 solid lines.
Yeah.
So they can have a guy off or out and still play a great hockey game.
Well, so that makes this week's Hobby Deep Dive the Panthers, Tendy, Sergei Bobrovsky. Sergei Andreevich Bobrovsky is a Russian goaltender for your Florida Panthers, Louis.
Yep.
36 years young, born in 1988 in the picturesque village of, Novokuznetsk.
There, now just say it really quick.
Novokuznetsk?
Novokuznetsk.
Novokuznetsk. Oh, yeah. I think that's it. One of Jeremy's favorite vacation spots.
Yeah, it's pronounced Novokuznet. So yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
have you been there?
We have a timeshare there.
Oh yeah. It's probably nice. I don't know. I didn't look it up. So Bobrovsky began his professional career in Russia's top-tier league at just 18, playing for Metallurg Novokuznetsk, whatever it's called.
Yep.
His performances there attracted NHL scouts and set the stage for his North American journey later on. It's kind of a cool logo. Over 91 career games in the Russian Senior League / KHL, Bobrovsky achieved a .925 save percentage, 2.43 goals against on average, and recorded 6 shutouts. Despite strong numbers, especially his .927 save percentage in 08-09, he went undrafted by NHL teams, likely due to concerns that Russian players wouldn't leave for North America. And boy, don't we know about that here in Minnesota.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why we get like a 40-year-old Kaprizov rookie.
Hey, working though. When
It
he's
is.
Nice.
No, he's on this. In May 2010, at age 21, Bobrovsky signed a 3-year entry-level contract with the Philadelphia Flyers as an undrafted free agent. Initially expected to play in the AHL, he impressed so much during training camp that he earned the Flyers' starting job out of camp. That's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And on October 7th, 2010, Sergei made his NHL debut versus Pittsburgh, stopping 29 shots in a 3-2 win. He became the youngest Flyers goalie to win a season opener. Now, if you look closely, that is one way to make a save, for sure. You see that?
Yeah, look at the puck.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the back of his head. He finished 2010-11 with a 28-13-8 record, a .915 save percentage, and became a top rookie goaltender. That being said, Bobrovsky ultimately lost his starting job after that rookie year, mainly due to the Flyers' lack of confidence in his playoff readiness and their pursuit of a proven veteran. Here's how it all unfolded. While he had a great rookie regular season, he ended up being pretty shaky in the playoffs. Bobrovsky was pulled in game 2 of the Flyers' first round versus Buffalo, and then benched after that for multiple games. The Flyers rotated through 3 goalies during that postseason: Bobrovsky, Brian Boucher, and Michael Layton, showing a lack of confidence in all of them, which led them to that offseason signing Ilya Bryzgalov to a 9-year, $51 million deal. This massive contract clearly indicated that the team saw Brizgalov, not Bobrovsky, as their long-term number one goalie. For the 2012-13 season, Bobrovsky was basically demoted then to being a backup and naturally had fewer starts. His play was actually decent, though, but he didn't get enough opportunity to reestablish himself as the starter. So in June of 2012, Philadelphia traded Bobrovsky to the Columbus Blue Jackets for draft picks, just 2 years after his promising debut. Now, do you remember, were you following along casually as all that went down in Philadelphia?
I was. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly remember that.
The trade also coincided with the 2012-13 NHL lockout, which delayed the start of the season until January of 2013. In the interim, Bob headed back to Russia and played back in the KHL with SKA St. Petersburg, which is easier to say, where he posted an impressive 18-3-2 record, a stellar 1.94 goals against, .932 save percentage, and had 4 shutouts in 24 games. So he definitely found his form back there in Russia. After the lockout ended and the NHL season resumed in January of 2013, Bobrovsky returned to the Blue Jackets and continued his hot form and would win the Vezina Trophy that season, where in the shortened NHL season, he played 38 games, was 21-11-6 with a 2.0 goals against, .932 save percentage, and added 4 more shutouts. His Vezina win in 2012-13 was the first major NHL award for any Columbus Blue Jackets player. Bobrovsky became the foundation of Columbus's identity: fast, tough, defensively structured, and hard to beat at home. He'd win 1 more Vezina, too, during his time in Columbus. In the 2016-17 season, he went 41-17-5 with a 2.06 goals against, .931 save percentage, capturing that second Vezina trophy and backstopping the team to 108 points, which was a then franchise record. In 2018-19, Bob helped lead Columbus to its first ever playoff series win, a shocking 4-game sweep of the 62-win Tampa Bay Lightning. He posted a .932 save percentage in a series that silenced critics of his prior playoff performances. Leading up to free agency in 2019, however, he was unwilling to re-sign long-term in Columbus. His relationship with the team reportedly became strained, and the Jackets ultimately let him walk in free agency. Then on July 1st, 2019, Bob signed a 7-year, $70 million contract with the Florida Panthers, which of course is not a math show, but a $10 million average annual value. The Panthers needed a top-tier goalie after Roberto Luongo retired and James Reimer was traded. His time in Florida, as you guys might remember, did not get off to the best start.
No.
His first 2 seasons were underwhelming, to put it mildly, relative to his $10 million annual salary. In 2019-20, he was 23-19-6 with a 3.23 goals against and .900 save percentage. The following year in 2020-21, he was 9-8-2 with a 2.91 goals against and a .906 save percentage. He struggled with consistency and adjusting to a new system. So that's been, I think, the knock all throughout this journey, is that he can be very, very good and then go through periods where he's not so good. Fans and media questioned the contract as one of the worst in hockey at the time. In 2021-22, though, he would bounce back. He had a 39-7-3 record, 2.67 goals against, .931 save percentage, and led the Panthers to a President's Trophy as the league's best regular season team. Bob started every playoff game, though Florida was swept by Tampa Bay in round 2. In 2023, he would help lead the team to a historic playoffs run. Began the playoffs, as we might remember, as a backup to Alex Lyon, but reclaimed the net during round 1 versus Boston, and then helped Florida defeat the 65-win Bruins, who had the greatest regular season team in NHL history.
What a collapse.
Yeah, no kidding. His 11-2 record, he had 11-2 record over the second and third rounds, a .935 save percentage during the Eastern Conference Final versus a sweep of Carolina. The Panthers reached the Stanley Cup final for the first time since 1996, and he was widely seen as a consummate frontrunner until Florida lost to Vegas in the final. Then we get to last season, of course, where he finally got over the mountaintop.
Mm-hmm.
In 23-24, Bobrovsky backstopped Florida to their first ever Stanley Cup championship. He was elite throughout the playoffs, especially in a tight-checking, low-scoring games, solidified his legacy by shaking up years of criticism and delivering while under pressure. And now he's, of course, on the doorstep of maybe winning his second Stanley Cup if his team can get past the Oilers again. Last thing on Bob, before we get a little bit of his hobby market, is we got to talk about the nickname.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Sergei Bobrovsky's nickname, Officer Bob, also known as Officer Bobrovsky or the number one cop, originated as a lighthearted joke during his early NHL days, and here's how it all began. The nickname was coined by Canadian sportscasters Jay Henry and Dan O'Toole on SportsCenter, which is, I think, TSN there in Canada. Henry thought Bobrovsky sounded like a character straight out of an old school cop show and began introducing his highlight reel saves with police theme calls like, "You're on the case, Bobrovsky." Henry consistently yelled Bobrovsky's name during highlights, and the exaggeration grew into a running gag. The persona evolved into top cop on the force and even inspired a webcomic tribute titled The Adventures of Officer Bobrovsky. Bob didn't fully understand the joke until years later, probably with the language barrier and such, and was often confused by the sudden police theme heroics directed at him. Once, though, he got the humor, he embraced it, smiling along with the moniker as it followed him to Columbus and then beyond. So,
Now, did Columbus lose him to free agency, or
they let him walk. Like,
they
tried to re-sign him, but he refused.
And then was it? I'm going to sound like an idiot that these Columbus fans are going to kill me. Was it Korpisalo that played then? Was that the next?
I don't know.
Goalie for a while?
No idea.
I'm not sure. I like how, he swept Tampa in the first round of the playoffs. And then Florida noticed that. They picked him up in free agency, but then Tampa swept them. But now look who's getting the last laugh. Florida's easily the better team in the state now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was basically discarded too by the Flyers and then let walk by the Blue Jackets, which is interesting. So we'll go through his top 5 sales, and then I have a couple questions, bigger picture questions on Bob for you guys. So when we do these hobby deep dives, we always look at their top 5 sales to date. Then with each's respective highest sale, and remember, any sale made via eBay within the 3-year look back window has been verified as paid for in therapy. So here's the top 5 sales. At number 5 is a 2019-20 Cup Foundations Quad Patch Auto 101, sold for $720 US via eBay in May of 2024. That's a nice looking card.
It is.
Number 4 is a 2018-19 Ultimate Award-winning game-used NHL Shield Patch 101, sold for $800 US via eBay in December of 2024. Me, not a fan of these cards. I prefer like in hockey gear versus tuxedos, but I get the bit with the Vezina and stuff like that.
Hey, I'll give them credit. They damn near have that shield centered, though.
Closely. We have a tie at number 2. So the first one is a 2010-11 Young Guns High Gloss, which is out of 10, PSA 9, sold for $1,000 even US in April, this past April. I like kind of the rainbow foiling on that card there in the photo. Tied with it is a 2019-20 Cup Limited Logos Patch Auto out of 50 raw, so for again $1,000 US in May, on May 17th of this year, so last month. So the last 2 sales have been within the last couple months. And then the number 1 sale ever publicly for Sergei Bobrovsky is a 2017-18 Ultimate Shield Auto 101, so for just $1,300 US via eBay in June of 2024. So that's our Bobrovsky deep dive. Where does he fit for you, Jeremy? And like, is he just like a really good goalie, not a great goalie? Is it still, you mean, to be written in your mind at this point?
No, I mean, his career has been long, and he's got a Stanley Cup. He might get another one. He's a key part of that team, the Stanley Cup winning team. He's got Vezina trophies, plural. He's had a great career. He's most likely a Hall of Famer. But as far as the hobby goes, I think he'll be forgotten by the hobby.
Yeah.
He won't be forgotten by the record books, but he'll be forgotten by the hobby. I don't think there's anybody. I've never seen or heard of anybody who super collects Bobrovsky, and by these prices that you just showed, it's clear that there's not very strong competition to buy his cards. So, yeah, I mean, he's Russian, which, whatever that means. He has not, outside of being in Philadelphia, where it was a disappointment, he's played in Columbus, which, considering it's a great sports town and state, doesn't have a lot of hobby legacy really. And now he's in Florida, another non-traditional market. So I don't see his hobby market being significant or really lasting, past his retirement.
I tend to agree with you. Do you think it's more due to his consistency or team or both? Like if he had the same career, but for the Blackhawks and the Maple Leafs, would there be a bigger hobby market, or has he just been too inconsistent?
I think it's the former. I think he would have a bigger hobby market if he played for Toronto, Montreal, Chicago, Detroit, one of these teams. I think he would be a lot more popular in the hobby. I think that goes without a doubt. I mean, Felix Potvin, he's got huge hobby love, and he didn't have a great career. He had a good career. He didn't have a great career. You don't have to have a great career to get a lot of hobby attention and love if you're playing in Montreal or Toronto. But if you're going to play in Columbus and then Florida, you're going to need to do something special. And I mean, just look at these guys. Look at Barkov, another guy that doesn't get a lot of love. Ekblad, a top tier defenseman, very little hobby love. So I think it's the market. I don't think it's his consistency. I think the results that he's had, the individual accomplishments and the Stanley Cup, I think they override the lack of consistency that he's shown.
I think you're right. He's got like the nickname too. Similar to Potvin in a way, like Felix the Cat, and you got Officer Bob. So he's got kind of all the ingredients, just not the right team. I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Slab Sharks is a Gongshow partner sponsor. Of course, we're grateful for their support of our show. The current Slab Sharks weekly eBay auction ends tonight. More than 3,600 cards to choose from. We're going to be live, starting at 7 Eastern, to cover for a few hours at least the amazing cards ending. We're going to just be hanging out, having some fun in the chat. I hope you join us on the Gongshow YouTube channel. You can share in the wins and losses. That's what I think my favorite part is, following people bid. And then Phil just bids live on screen. Jeremy, you're more like, subtle about it. He just opens up the screen right on screen share and shows, doxes himself, whatever. That's how Phil rolls. So we just let him be him. Now, Jeremy, you've been working kind of like us with collectors in Canada for Slab Sharks too. Do you have any big cards or clients cards, whatever we call them, in the auction this week?
You're catching me at a low point. I've had client cards, crazy cards coming through the last couple of months. This week right now is my lightest month client-wise, only 84 cards. I just logged in to have a look, listed, and the highest bid cards right now are Bedard and McDavid Young Guns, Celebrini. So there's an Ovechkin auto patch in there. But this is a light week for me and my clients. So, but that's, it's been really great so far. And, I also, like everyone else, I go to the Slab Sharks website and I just look at the auctions. Instead of looking on eBay, you can look on Slab Sharks and then link to eBay, as you well know. And my jaw drops constantly and consistently. And I find myself adding, a couple dozen cards to my watch list on eBay each week. And a bunch of cards I want to bid on as well. So, yeah.
Real talk about that. Are we allowed to, is it, what are the ethics of us bidding on cards now that we're working with them? Because that's kind of a bummer if we can't do that. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, listen, my belief is I can bid on any card that isn't my card. If I don't own the card, I can bid on the card.
If you have the attention to pay for it, if you win it.
Well, I only bid on cards.
I know.
Yeah,
But
I know
what
you know,
people
but
would-
yeah, yeah, of course. I only bid on cards that I want to buy and add to my collection, or I want to buy and put in my expo display case in the future as well. But yeah, I bid on Slab Sharks auctions regularly.
Mhm. So if you're in the prairie land of Canada, Jeremy Lee's your guy. So that includes Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. Look at me. I know Canadian geography better than Phil.
I'm so impressed.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you're going to want to hit Jeremy up there. And the reason why so many collectors are choosing Slab Sharks to consign their hockey cards is, well, they make your life super easy by doing all the work. And then, I mean, the little bonus, it's not a little bonus, it's a huge bonus. The Slab Sharks auction's pretty much the biggest weekly hockey card auction there is. So if you're selling hockey cards, I would assume that's where you want to be. Now, Canadian collectors have been cashing in with Slab Sharks for a few years now, and through the Gongshow crew, American hockey card collectors can now easily take advantage of the opportunity to consign with Slab Sharks through us. We've created a US-based shipping address to submit your cards. You don't have to worry about the hassle or expense of shipping your cards to Canada. Just send them to us, and Louis loves hassle and worries, so it makes his day. And we figure out how to get them to Slab Sharks on your behalf. So for complete consignment info, including payout rates, head to slabsharks.com. And if you're a U.S. collector, want to try Slab Sharks, check out we have a link in the show description that goes right to consign your cards to us. Hobby news.
Hobby news.
News from the hobby.
Oh, that was nice. I like that.
Well, Phil, that was an ode to Phil.
Yeah, an ode to Phil. Okay. Oh, we have another one coming.
Yeah.
You're gonna like it.
Yeah.
Well, we had a.
I saw you side-eyeing me there. What am I in for here?
The NHL regular season awards are starting to roll out, and Shimmy Shakes Lane Hutson takes a big one. He's your 2024-25 Calder Memorial Trophy winner. In 82 games played, the 21-year-old Montreal defenseman scored 6 goals and added 60 assists for 66 points. A pretty loaded rookie class this year, too. So, man, you could have made a case for a number of guys. Celebrini, Matvei Michkov, Dustin Wolf as well. All 4 and more had pretty good rookie years. Hudson's 66 points led all rookies in scoring. His 60 apples tied Larry Murphy's single-season modern-day record by a rookie defenseman. Hutson is just the 4th defenseman in NHL history to lead all rookies in scoring.
Yep.
Bobby Orr, Brian Leach, and Quinn Hughes are the other 3. So let's take a quick look, I guess, at how the voting shook out. I was a little bit surprised. He received 165 of 191 first-place votes. Kind of a landslide, huh, guys?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well deserved, though. Man,
You think so?
Oh, he's a rock back there on D. Man, is he play a good? Yes, we'll just leave it at that. I could go on forever about him on D, but yeah, you don't see his skill, how would you say it? His quiet skill back there as often.
Well, like Faber, he had a lot of poise right away. So, Jeremy, if Gary Bettman called you a week ago and said, Jeremy, I want you to pick the Calder winner, who would your choice have been?
Well, I mean, I'm a homer, right? I'd go Dustin Wolf.
Yeah.
Got to see him play quite a bit. I'm actually surprised that Dustin Wolf finished second. I would have expected Celebrini to finish ahead of him, but it looks like it was really close there, 1169 to 1104. So pretty darn close. I'm proud of Dustin Wolf with what with his finish there for sure. But I wasn't an early believer in Lane Hutson, and as the season went on, I was converted. But as you think about it and you look at other great defensemen that we've seen, I think about a guy like Erik Karlsson, who had a great career, a great early career with Ottawa, and had a lot of hobby love early on.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't last. It didn't last for him. Now, Cale Makar's doing okay as a defenseman. Maybe Quinn Hughes will do okay as well. But what's in store for Lane Hutson long term? I mean, what he has going for him is the Calder and the color of the jersey, or the jersey that he wears.
Nailed it.
But what happens long term? Who if his career remains on the same trajectory it's on now? just don't know. But collect what you like. If he's on your team and you like this guy, collect his cards by all means.
Well, there's the hockey analysis and then there's the hobby analysis. And the hockey analysis is he had an amazing rookie season, and any team in the NHL would be doing backflips for him to be on their team. I think the hobby analysis is a little tougher. The biggest thing going for it, like you've mentioned, is the Canadiens jersey. I just don't see like a comparative player that has a big hobby chase. You can't mention Makar. Makar scored 30 goals this year. Hutson had 6, right? And now, does that mean that Hutson won't score more goals? No. But I don't think he's been a big goal scorer even throughout his brief and young history in the game. And of course, anything can happen, but it doesn't mean it will either. And so I would tend to agree with you. I would be incredibly excited to watch him for a long time as a hockey player. And I just have doubts of the long-term hobby potential, if that's fair.
I think that is fair, Josh. And but I do, he may not score 30 goals, but it seems to me like he's got 31st assists, and I don't know the stats on that, but when you're listening to the games, watching them, or just reading the box scores, his name shows up. It seems like last year it showed up in almost every Montreal Canadiens goal. I'm exaggerating, of course, but it showed up in more than I was expecting it to. And I think he's a great playmaker. That's the feeling I get from him. Louis was saying he's great. He's a stalwart on defense, but if he's a great playmaker as well, that's going to bode well for him for sure. So, but you're right. The hockey analysis is different than the hobby analysis, and hockey wise, he'd be great on any team would love to have him. Hobby wise, even Cale Makar is great for the hobby, but like you said, 30 goals. That's unbelievable. Lane Hutson will have, he's got his work cut out for him to achieve Makar status.
Well, Makar's been anointed, right, as like the guy, like the baby Bobby Orr. Like that's how the hobby views him, and right or wrong or good or bad or indifferent, that's just it. And that whatever it is that does that or makes that happen, that's really important when it comes to the hobby.
Well, he's even been anointed as like one of the best in the league, along with Connor McDavid, which is pretty funny. And a really quick story: when I was just at the Edmonton Expo, I was talking with somebody who works with NHLers, and he told a quick story to me, and another gentleman reiterated a story about how Nathan MacKinnon was kind of upset that Makar wasn't passing him the puck enough. And MacKinnon spoke to his like training coach about it. And he's like, he just won't pass me the puck, sort of thing. And Makar, I guess, caught wind of it. And he said, yeah, I'm going to do what I want with the puck, or something like that. This is very hearsay and I'm paraphrasing extremely, but that was the gist of it. And it was just pretty funny to think and to hear that a player like Cale Makar, who's just younger than Nathan MacKinnon, who's also an absolute beast, has the confidence and the swagger to basically tell Nathan MacKinnon, you'll wait until I get you the puck, sort of thing,
Catch a rebound that way, buddy.
Yeah,
sort of thing. Well, Lane Hutson is a 24-25 Young Guns. PSA 10 pop 907. Check this out, guys. Just a 26% gem rate. Ooh, tough to gem, the Lane Hutson Young Guns. Last sold for $400 US on June 11th. It's down about 10% in the past month. The only other hobby news story we have today is prices for 23-24 the Cup are moving on up to the east side.
Yeah.
And a deluxe apartment in the sky. Right? Holy moly. It's been a week. And it's basically a 30% increase. So in the US, I think the Cup was pre-selling at just over $1,000, is now $1,309 US. And Phil messaged and said that he heard that the Canadian distributor pricing is about 1,700 Canadian now. So that's pretty much on par with the US price, I would assume. It must mean that sales are strong. It just kind of makes me, I don't like to be cynical. I really don't. But it's like This hobby is so funny. It's like, gosh, something works out. It sets a hit. It's reasonably cheap, and it lasts for days until the capitalism swoops in and balances it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you got your cup tins if you wanted them early. Break prices are going to be going up.
Yeah, it's too bad.
It is what it is.
It is.
It's not new.
No,
not at all. And if you didn't open your tin, which was probably the smart move. Actually, we didn't even talk about that. That was probably I was shocked how cheap the cup was this year. Even with Bedard's mediocre-ish season last year, knowing that had tempered excitement a little bit. But still, though, I mean, 2 years ago, we kind of all assumed that this cup was going to be outrageous. Then it was $1,000. I was like, what? Really? Is that a typo? And so maybe some really smart people bought a 10 or 2 or 20 and
might know a guy
and didn't open it. And now, looking pretty good.
Jeremy,
also
cup.
What's that, Louis?
You ever opened the cup?
Oh yeah. I used to buy at least a case every year up until about I think. Well, I make it sound like I've done it so much. 05, 06, the first year.
Okay.
I bought several packs and maybe a case as well. 6, 7, at least a case. 7, 8. I remember opening up at least a case. 8, 9 was the year that I did the pack out with Upper Deck in North Carolina, and it's kind of just fun to think that every patch card in that year went through my hands. But I don't think I bought a case that year, and I don't think I've bought a case ever since. To be honest, I maybe the odd tin since then, but I am not much of a gambler, and I also I stopped collecting RPAs, back in those late 2000s, and so no, I don't open the cup anymore. But I love that everybody else does, because it is filled with such beautiful cards, and this year is no exception. I really like this year's set, and but I'm content to just buy singles on the secondary market for now.
Agreed.
For now anyway. And we're talking about the price of the cup, Josh, and with this new slab on the RPA and the additional sort of time it's going to take them to pack it out, these uncirculated slabs, they cost Upper Deck money. So the fact that the price didn't go up, that's another reason to be surprised. And maybe that's a nice thing that Upper Deck kept the price under control. And, maybe buyers can feel like we're not paying extra for those slabs in there as well. But that is an extra, it's an extra cost of material cost and labor cost and then of course the development of this new technology or whatever it is. I think it's nice that they maybe didn't pass that cost along, or if they did, we just don't notice it as much.
Yep.
Do you remember your biggest hit from any tin of the cup that you've opened?
Well, I did hit a dual shield. I think, that must have been 08, 09, but it wasn't a good one. It was like Antti and I don't remember some other Chicago goalie at the time. I think I don't remember who it was. I did not. Maybe it was Crawford. I didn't hold that card for very long at all. Crawford, by the way, has a big collector base for some reason.
Great team.
Stanley
Cups.
But I did have a big hit once. Here in Calgary, we have a long-term store called Maple Leaf Sports, and Darren runs it. And for several years, he used to do a trade night, the third Wednesday of every month. And I was a regular there for over a decade. And what he used to do was these group breaks in the store where he did, in the instance of the cup, he'd do 1 tin of the cup and there were 30 spots, one for each team. And each spot was, I think, $10 or 20, maybe it's $20 a spot. I forget exactly how much. And this would have been 15, 16. It's $20 a spot. I bought 3 spots. And the way you got your team was he had like this bag with mini coffee mugs with the team logos on them that you get out of vending machine. And so I used to take my teams, and I wouldn't look at my teams until the cards had come out. And oh, no one's claiming the card. Let's see if it's mine. And I'd say, oh, that's mine. But anyway, what happened was unfortunately, this one time I happened to see the teams that I had, or at least one of the teams that I had. So he's opening up the pack, 6 cards, only 6 people are going to get a card, 30 spots. I have 3, so I had a 1 in 10 chance of getting something, I guess you could say. And lo and behold, he does the slow reveal, and we're all crowding around the showcase looking at it, and he does a slow reveal. And of course, what do I see but the Edmonton Oilers logo? And I see Connor McDavid, and he pulls it down the rest of the way, and I see Wayne Gretzky, and I had the Oilers. So for $60, I won a rookie year dual scripted swatches of Connor McDavid and Wayne Gretzky, numbered out of what were those, out of 5 or 15 maybe?
Wow.
And that was easily the biggest hit that I'd ever had out of the cup.
How long did you keep that card?
About a month. There was a big collector out of New York who I did end up selling it to. And at the Edmonton Expo, I saw another copy of that card in somebody's showcase. And I said, hey, how much are you asking for that? And he says 60. I go, 60 what? Knowing full well what he means.
Yeah.
I said $60,000. And, I kind of chuckled and realized I got about 7.5% of that when I sold it. So, you win some, you lose some. I won, and I won in the short term. I guess if I would have held on to it, I would have won in the long term as well. But still a great memory for sure.
Yeah, you got a good story, that's for sure.
Yeah, you got a good story out of it. So, well, speaking of good stories, it's time for you, Jeremy, to continue. It's been a minute, but you've been taking us through since last fall, I think, when we started each decade of the hockey hobby and coming up with your top 5 cards that defined the hobby. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, this is only the 4th installment. We did the 1910s, the 20s, the 30s. Here we are with the 40s. And I think this is the longest gap we've had between, but we've all been busy, but it's nice to be back. And this will be a quick one because if you know pre-war hockey, even vintage hockey, you know that the 1940s is a pretty bare decade for hockey cards at all. And if we take a look, and Louis, do you have it pulled up, the link to the PSA set registry?
Ooh.
It's in the outline. There should be a quick link there. I don't know if you can put it on the screen or not.
See if I can. Here.
If you look at PSA set registry website and you just go to the sets, and you can sort the sets by, you can go to the sport you want. So this link should bring us right into the hockey sets. And when you scroll through them, as Louis will bring up shortly, and I will slow my words as he brings the screen up. I see it loading right there. So this is a list of the hockey sets. It's small, it's hard to see, but Louis, so right now we see 1910s, we see the 1911 sets, 12s, and you get into the 20s, and when you'll get to the 30s, Louis, and then you get to the 40s, and right there you see there are 3 sets only of 1940s hockey cards. There's the 1940-41 O-Pee-Chee, the V301-2s. Then you got the 1948 Richard playing cards, which I don't consider to be like sports cards. I think they're actual playing cards for probably back in the day playing bridge or something. And then you got the 1949-50 Worldwide Gum NHL Ice Stars wrappers, which are not even cards themselves. And to be honest, I don't even know what they are. So there's really one set of hockey cards in all the 40s. And so we had to choose 4-5 cards from that one set, which I was able to do. And
can I ask you a question first, though, that I've thought about this intermittently as I've done research on the vintage end, and you just correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like once you get past like 1935 and into the 40s, it does get hard to identify what are actually, there's a lot of like photos and other stuff that where they don't exactly seem like hockey cards, a lot of irregular sizes. And is that kind of what you're talking about in all this?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, you've got the beehives that came out and other just oddball sort of sets, company sets, promotional sets that advertisers were using that were just not your traditional buy a pack of cards, get the gum, and build a set out of. And even this 1940 O-Pee-Chee set, it's an oversized set. It's only a 50 card set. And so, I mean, it's going to have to do, Josh, in terms of this program. But, like you and I mentioned offline, I said, Josh, do we just skip the 40s? But no, we don't. And I love what you said to me. You said it's part of the story of the history of hockey cards. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that we do it. I'm glad that was your outlook on it. And I agree with it. And it's going to be the complete opposite when we get to the 50s, which I've kind of looked ahead and realized that I'm going to the 50s. I'm going to need to sneak a sixth card in there, but we'll save that for then. Okay. We'll do that down the road. But for now, and it's also interesting to mention, as I said, the 1940 O-Pee-Chee set were oversized. So there's no traditionally sized hockey cards from the 1940s. The other thing to think about is that there was hockey going on, in 1947, 40. I think that Maurice Richard's actual rookie year was maybe 1947, something like that. And maybe Gordie Howe's was 49 or 50. But we don't see hockey cards again until 1951 Parkhurst, where you have the rookie card of several Hall of Famers. It was the first set in 10 years.
Well, I'm not a historian, but obviously, the reason for all this is that, and we might as well just say it in case anyone is young or doesn't know history, is you had World War II that dominated the 1940s. And then even though the war ended in 45, almost all of North American manufacturing was reconfigured for the war effort. And there were, we lost millions of men too, between Canada and the US, probably at least half of them, I think it was in the millions, probably between, not sure on that, maybe 500,000 US. Canada, I'm sure, suffered horribly in the war as well. And so it kind of makes a whole lot of sense that there just wasn't much happening from the production of hockey cards.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. Now, the 1940-41 O-Pee-Chee hockey card set, interestingly, it's a tough set. You don't probably saw none of them at the Edmonton Expo last weekend. Mm-hmm. PSA has only had 521 total submissions across all cards in that set. Wow. So It's a very bare year altogether. No 9s or 10s at all in that set. So let's get into the 5 cards that I chose as being the 5 most important from the set, because really that's what we have to talk about. And we're going to start with the most important one is this Turk Broda card. Now you'll notice on the screen right now, it said Walter Broda, nicknamed Turk. We all know, I don't even know if I knew his name was Walter. He's so well known as Turk Broda. It's card number 108. And if you are somebody who pays attention to the PSA set registry, where they give each card in the set a different weighting based on importance, Turk Broda has a 10. And I think there's only 2 10s in the whole set of 50. So a very important card. Total pop, 14. Only 14 slabbed copies of this card. These are very thin. I have owned one of these before. I don't right now. I owned a copy of the next one, but this is the Turk Broda. And again, as I mentioned last time, Josh, we're not going to get into the careers of these guys. You're handling that through the Getting to Know Your Hall of Famers. So you can reference that to the good listener and watcher. Notice I'm slipping in more Phil language there, more Phil lingo. So this to me is the most important hockey card from the 1940s, the 1940 O-Pee-Chee Turk Broda. Takes us to the second most important card, the one that I used to own a copy of. I don't anymore. This is the Milt Schmidt rookie card. A lot of people mistakenly think that Milt Schmidt's rookie card is the 1951 Parkhurst card.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, if you're not an oversized card collector, which I'm not anymore, I would be happy with the 51 representing him as I can't say rookie card because it clearly isn't, but as an early Milt Schmidt card in my collection. It is the other card that carries a weighting on the PSA set registry of 10, which is the maximum total pop. Only 27 copies have been through. One of them I actually had graded. The one that I used to own, I had it graded. Maybe it was the last one, I'm not sure, but it came back a PSA 1. And like, these cards are tough, guys. They're just tough to find. So your number 2 card from the 1940s is the 1940 O-Pee-Chee Milt Schmidt.
Well, it's kind of funny, the size. You go from 1940, this size, what is it like? What is it, like 3x5 or 5x7 or something like that, to the 1951 baby cards?
Yeah, what a difference, right? Way oversized to way undersized. All right, the number 3 card is the 1940 O-Pee-Chee card number 101, Toe Blake. And this card carries a PSA weighting on the set registry of 8. There are no 9, so there's 2 10s and then there's this 8. But guys, get this. Only 11 copies have ever been. Now, I say copies. Let me rephrase. Only 11 submissions ever have gone into PSA. And that's a nuance there, because I switched from copies to submissions because the fact is the same copy could have been submitted more than once, in which case you'd have fewer than 11 copies, but there's been 11 total submissions of the Toe Blake card. Now, this is not Toe Blake's rookie card, but it is, this is not a year that's filled with top tier Hall of Famers, and you're seeing that right now, but it's still an exceptional card and an important one, if nothing else, due to its extreme rarity and scarcity. Any questions so far, fellas?
No, I do have to chime in really quick because I was way off on my deaths estimate. So, I mean, doesn't matter. U.S. lost 417,000 soldiers, which feels like millions to me. And Canada lost 45,400, which is way too many as well.
When you mentioned that earlier, you were kind of wondering what the Canadian amount was going to be. I was going to say probably about 10% of the U.S. amount, because that is our,
it's just math, right? Fits the population.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
And we just brought it up. These cards are actually 5x7s.
Yeah, they're big.
Wow. Yeah, that's the size of it. Well, so if you're looking for a reference point, that's the same size as the jumbo Young Guns.
Yes.
Okay. Well, 2 more to go, fellas. The 4th most important card from your 1940s is the 2nd rookie card on the list, 1940 O-Pee-Chee Max Bentley. This card carries a PSA set registry weighting of 8 relative to the other cards in the set. Total submissions to PSA, only 20. And this is a Hall of Fame rookie card that people are competing for. So this is a card that is probably going to sell for more than you would expect, because if you're working on the Hall of Fame rookie card set registry, there's only 20 of these to go around. That's not enough. There are more than 20 people competing on that set registry alone. So it's tough. And I kind of wonder sometimes, do all the people that are competing, do they even, like, will they make an exception and say, I'm not going to bother with these 1940 O-Pee-Chees because they're too big, I don't like them? Maybe. I'm guessing probably not. I think most people would want to add them because they don't care. They want to compete on the registry, which is fair. But I just can't get over the scarcity of these cards, guys. It's quite mind-boggling. So, and then the final card number 5, your 5th most important card of the 1940s, according to myself, and this is open for discussion, everybody, is the 1940 O-Pee-Chee card number 125, Elmer Locke. This is his rookie card. Again, similar to the Milt Schmidt, a lot of people think that his 1951 Parker's card is his rookie card. And I think, is that card number 1 in the 1951 Parker set? I think Elmer Locke might be card number 1 in the 51 Parker set. Of course, leave your comments and let me know how wrong I am if I'm not remembering that correctly. But the Elmer Locke rookie card comes with a PSA set registry weighting of only 5. And
I did a bad job.
Say again, Louis.
I did a bad job on my stats here. I really messed this guy up. Both of them.
You have 27 there. Yeah, the total pop
7.
on the graphic is not 27. It is 20. The same as Max Bentley. Again, just another really rare card. But you look at if you're watching this on YouTube right now and you are looking at this image, I mean, this looks more like a Hollywood kind of press photo than it does a hockey player. Like, got the big jaw, the slick back hair parted down the middle. I don't know if we can call him handsome or not, but it's I just think this is a really cool image, and it's a cool card. Josh, you've got some weird look on your face. What's going through your mind?
I'm gonna keep my thoughts to myself.
Read into that what you will, good listener.
Okay.
But again, the 1940s, really only one set to choose from, and the 1950s, and then the next time I come on the show will be a much more difficult and maybe more contentious selection of your top 5. I'm going to sneak in a 6th. I already know what they are, and I'm sure there will be some pushback on some of them, and I look forward to that. I don't know, people who are more familiar with this set than even myself, I'd love to hear how you think I did, how you think on behalf of myself and the Hockey Cards Gong Show. Would you agree with this or not? Please do let me know. I'll be interested to hear what you think.
Well,
all the 1940 O-Pee-Chee fans that listen to our show, though, I'm sure.
Two things.
Okay.
2 things. First, yes, Jeremy, you're right. Card number 1 in the 51 2 Parkies.
Thank you. 2,
what did these cards come in?
Yeah.
How did you obtain these? Where'd you get
them? O-Pee-Chee was a gum company. What the heck? It was like a suitcase of gum that you got them in, or what?
I don't know the answer to that, but if you want, and just let me
grab it.
2 steps here.
Bobby's book.
Get that book.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's in there.
Here, let's grab the Vintage Hockey Collector book and turn to the Here, looks like I'm almost there. We go, 1940s. And according to Bobby Burrell, the author, a sequential continuation from the previous year's issue. These large cards measure 5x7 or sepia tone, printed on thin cardboard stock with 50 cards in the set. Unsure if these were issued by O-Pee-Chee, but cards 126 through 150 are considerably tougher to find, suggesting they may have been spread over 2 separate releases. In the book, in Bobby's book, you see images of wrappers and boxes and all those things, but for the 1940 O-Pee-Chee, you do not see any additional images.
Wow.
So
hobby mystery.
Do not know how those were distributed, guys.
All right.
Well, the Bobby's book is huge because who would have any of this information if he hadn't done the work. So it's awesome that he's done that. Thank you, Jeremy. Always fascinating. Now I can't wait for 1950 because I want to.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing with the 50s is that all the players are going to be very familiar to all of us and pretty much everybody else. So
there we go. Yeah. New product release is brought to you by our friends and partners at Mint Ink. Mint Ink is the spot in all of the beautiful and majestic Canada to have your hobby dreams and desires fulfilled. They have hobby boxes for all the new hockey releases at their amazing Vaughan store, which is the official host for Rip Party 2 this November at the Fall Expo. But there's more. Mint Ink has oodles of singles, and oodles, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, is an official number that I checked. You can submit your cards for grading, consign them, maybe even join a break after dark. The best part is you don't even have to be in Toronto to enjoy the Mint Ink experience. They can ship the newest, hottest hobby boxes to any location in all of Canada. And speaking of anywhere in Canada, you guys know Phil, right? Jeremy, you know Phil?
I know Phil.
Okay. Well, yeah, he's sometimes on the show. Well, he's starting to get a little bit known in the hobby. I go to card shows. People say hi. They notice me. And, what did he tell you the other day, Louis? That he's like, I'm hobby famous now or something like that, he declared. And like most celebrities, he's honestly, it's been a problem. He's starting to get a little vain. we'll try to record. We have a schedule, and he's freaking out. He's panicking about his appearance. The lighting's bad. You got to get this side, not this side. All this stuff he's going through now. It's kind of driving us crazy a little bit when we record. He goes on and on about his face and not being this, not being that, wrinkles, mustache color, forehead reflection. I don't know, whatever. It's
Comb it out.
annoying. Calm down, Phil. Well, his latest thing has been his lips. They're not plump enough. All the celebrities have juicy, plump lips. And he thinks that what he said is it looks like that his mustache ate his lips.
Oh, well, I jumped ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. So why is Phil not here today? Well, he made an appointment a couple weeks ago in Toronto to get some collagen injections to plump up those lips. And he can't afford it. I mean, Toronto, big city. So he finds a doctor in a very remote place, is McConnell Creek in British Columbia. I've never heard of it. But the doctor does these collagen. I guess the doctor has like a coffee shop / plastic surgery center. And he does the injections out of there. And he almost didn't go because the recovery period could be a few days, a few weeks, and he needs ice. Ice comes out. He's got to have a box for Friday nights with Phil. But when I told him, like, dude, you can just order on mintink.ca. You can pre-order. They'll ship it right to your room wherever you're recovering there at McConnell Creek. And he's like, sweet, I'm doing this. I'm a celebrity. I have to look better. And he sent this photo the other day. What do you think of Phil's new lip injections?
I think he looks wonderful, and I think that this picture needs to be exploited to its full potential and not just a one-time appearance on the Gong Show. I think that this needs to become something that people, when they think hockey cards or Hockey Cards Gong Show, this picture is right up there with the awesome Gong Show logo. I think it's phenomenal.
Well, I think there probably might just be Phil and two new people.
I think he's going to get more fans. Now, well, there's two morals to this story. Of course. Moral one is get your hobby boxes anywhere in Canada at mintink.ca. And the second moral is you take a day off of this show.
Free game, baby.
See what happens. Right? This is okay, Louis, take that down. I'm scared.
Okay, we'll go to that one.
Yeah, so we didn't cover the checklist because I forgot. For 24-25 ice. I mean, there's so many products coming out right now. I can't even. I'm getting maybe dementia, early onset. I don't know, but I'm getting confused. So yeah, 24-25 ice is out. Watch a bunch of breaks today. For ice, it looks pretty good. On-card autos, I think, this year. So there's some nice on-card patch autos. A couple inserts in there. Check it out, hockeychecklist.com.
Did you watch a bunch of breaks today or yesterday?
Yesterday. Right. See? Dementia. 195 Canadian at mintink.ca. You can go get your boxes right now. In the US, it's about 145. So again, very equivalent. So go get your ice at Mint and then send Phil a message about what you think of his new look. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. DM him multiple times.
Yes.
Well, I was distracted and missed ice because it's been 7 whole days, Jeremy Lee and Baba Louie, since the cup came out. Much anticipated product for years now. We've been waiting for this product. And naturally, we must overreact because that's what we do on this show. And look at what cards are popping on the secondary markets. So we're going to look at the top 5 very early, 23-24 cup sales, along with each card's respective top sale. And if you've ever wondered why I say that, it's for this particular reason. We're not going to go through the top 5 Connor Bedard RPA sales because that would be the whole list, right? So we're just going to go with the top sale. We want to show a little variety and what are the types of cards that are selling. Of course, any sale made via eBay has been verified as paid for in Terapeak, and then we'll use this as our entree to talk about our feelings on the cup this year. So we'll get right into number 5. And I'm going to, spoiler alert, one player dominates this list. Think carefully because it's a hard one. The number 5 is a Connor Bedard Splendor RPA out of 49, sold for $4,640 US on June 8th via eBay. I'm not the biggest Splendor fan, but I kind of like these designs.
I like Splendor.
It's a nice looking card.
The patch is like ridiculous. But we're going to say that a lot in the next 3 minutes.
Reminds me of my grandma.
What?
My grandmother's knitting.
Bedard or the patch?
Yes. No, the patch, dummy.
Your grandma's good at hockey. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Number 4, a Betsy Exquisite RPA out of 98, sorry, jersey number. So for $4,969 US on June 8th on eBay. So here's like a different angle of the Blackhawks patch. We got a number patch here. Still nice, but what do you think of the Exquisite RPA design this year? I like it.
I do too.
I like that sometimes an Exquisite, like that's a teeny tiny head of the player. And I feel like they got in more of the photo of like Bedard in this case.
I think this is one of the better designed Exquisite RPAs I can remember. Like you said, nice big headshot of him. Great logo, great patch placement. I love the shape of the patch window. And the autograph has a really nice place to sign with no weird text underneath it to throw you off. Yeah, that's a great design.
Yes, I agree. Good comment.
You wouldn't like a nice little, faded Blackhawks logo behind that? No? All right, you guys. Fine.
Yeah, we're on different sides of that debate.
Thanks for the offer, though, Louis.
Yeah,
Number 3 is a Connor Bedard limited logos RPA out of 50. That sold for $5,750 US on June 11th via eBay. No red in the patch, but obviously the feather.
The nice
from the logo. Very nice looking patch there. A horrible photo. I can't stand how people get rewarded for selling cards with like B- photos, but that's just me. Now, does it surprise you that a limited logos would sell for more than an Exquisite RPA?
Well, it's out of 50 versus 98, so half the print run. Not an official rookie card, though. I think the Exquisite would be considered as such. And then it comes down to what's the patch. We know, the RPA itself is game used. Is the limited logos game used this year as well? I don't know the answer.
I don't, but I don't think the Exquisite RPA is. I think that's photo shoot.
Well, let me look at mine. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, you have 3 copies now, Louis? What do you got? Okay.
About that.
And then the question, Josh, you make a good point. Like if the limited logos is, say, player worn, while the Exquisite is photo shoot, like does Upper Deck, and I don't know, does Upper Deck distinguish between player worn and photo shoot still, or is player worn the same thing and inclusive of photo shoot? I don't know.
I more and more I formed the opinion over the last maybe call it 6 months or so that the one of the best things Upper Deck could do is get like real specific on provenance on their patches, good, bad, or indifferent, and that would do wonders for the hobby and their business. Right? It would just give people more confidence in what they're buying. And that, and again, that's addressed a little bit in the whole slab thing too, but we shouldn't have these questions on $5,000-$6,000 cards.
Agreed. Agreed.
Coming in number 2 is a Bedard True RPA out of 99. Sold for $13,148 US on June 9th on eBay. The patch is like bananas that's a lot of patch in the little window there. And as I mentioned, we're not, we could have done all 5 of these cards, except for the number 1, of course, or 4 of them. So there's been 8 total sales so far in the first week of a Bedard 99 RPA. The range has been 10,378 to this sale, 13,148.
That doesn't seem like a huge premium for a nice 1, 2, 3, 4 color patch. Assuming that the lower price ones were not as nice as this, that's not a big premium in today's world. I did just look it up. The limited logos is game worn, NHL game, official NHL game used, and the Exquisite is simply player worn. They don't say photo shoot.
Thank you for that clarification. And then the number 1 sale so far is a Bedard red foil rookie tag auto out of 4 sold for $13,879 US on June 7th via eBay. I think we've talked about this a little bit on last show. It's fantastic if you want to know how to wash his jersey. And, jokes aside, you're either a tag person or not. I think, though, and I'll just say in front of you that they did an amazing job on the red foil, green foil kind of stuff this year. They made it subtle, but yet impactful. It didn't, some years, I think there's too much of it on the card. And I really like the design. Now, for me, you put the last patch in this card, and I think it's better. But that's just me.
Yeah, I have no use for a card like this. And listen, I know that sounds harsh, but what I mean is the card is great. The memorabilia with all that small text, and I can see the word polyester, I think 3 or 4 times.
I know.
This to me does not belong in a hockey card, but I don't work at Upper Deck where they are encouraged to use all of the raw materials that they purchase. You get a jersey, use it all. And Upper Deck's actually really smart to make the tag card, the auto tag rookie parallel desirable by making it with the red foil out of 4. So, they found a way to make it desirable, and someone who's looking for the rainbow needs this card.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave it at that.
So that's the top 5. And like I said, it's a nice, I think, appetizer for a short discussion. I'm just curious to get your input and Louis'. Let's talk about Bedard first. Do the prices surprise you? Do you think they're higher, lower, or about what you expected?
Well, for me, I remember when in 16-17, when the Matthews RPA first came out, and I was screenshotting final sales in the first couple of days and sharing them to a Facebook group somewhere, I think. And I remember being kind of surprised that we were seeing $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 right out of the gate for Austin Matthews, who I believe scored 4 goals in his very first NHL game and had a pretty good season. So the difference here is that Bedard's card comes out, at the end of his second year, complete year, where year 2 wasn't exactly, a humongous year to celebrate, and it wasn't like a step up from the rookie year or a big enough of a step up to really make his cards continue to hold the value that they would have had it come out a year earlier.
Can we just say it was like super mediocre on the scale of generational talent? I mean, I think that's fair.
That's exactly what you articulate exactly what I'm thinking. So thank you. All that said, I still thought that it would come out at $20,000 because it's Connor Bedard and the hobby is hungrier than it's ever been before. And with just, the rise of the breaking community since 2016 or say 2017, when the 16 Cup came out, I thought that this would be even higher price than it was. I'm actually glad to see that and glad for the buyers of these cards, I guess, that they're not 20,000. They're under 15. They're 11 to 13 or so. I think that's a healthier place for them to be. And I think that speaks to what we talked about at the very top of the show. I think it shows health in the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you 100%. I was in the same boat as you, thinking these RPAs are going to be $20,000 cards, guaranteed. But knowing what we know now, yes, last year, probably. This year, I'm not surprised, but I'm still happy to see he's still getting a good dollar amount for the cards, which, like you said, shows that still a healthy hobby. And
yeah, and I mean, is he not the 3rd most valuable Cup RPA of all time after Crosby and McDavid? Like right now, maybe Austin Matthews sells for a little bit more, but Makar doesn't sell for that much, nor does Nathan McKinnon. No. And then after that, there's really a huge drop off to who's the next.
What I think hurts Matthews is the boringness of Toronto patches. Unless you get like the Centennial patch that has like the small Toronto in it, or a lot of Matthews Cup RPAs are not very exciting, and he has no mustache, which I find
I hear what you're saying, but then I look at the Crosby RPAs. He doesn't have any crazy Penguins RPA. All the Crosby Cup patches are 1, 2, or 3 color with no real action. Now you can get a 3-color Crosby, but most are 1 or 2, similar to Matthews. So I hear what you're saying, Josh, but I don't know that hurts the values. And this is a whole other discussion, maybe a different topic for another day, but because you raise an interesting point, but I'm not convinced that the lack of colors hurts his value, the values of his patch cards.
Well, we should have that debate at some time. I'd like to do that. So I have a general Bedard question that I've been wanting to ask a Canadian, a real Canadian, which we finally have on the show today. Have you heard people mumble or talk, or has it raised any eyebrows, or have you thought personally? So in the past year, Bedard hasn't sniffed a Canadian team at all for anything. World Championships? Nope. Four Nations? Nope. Celebrini's been on those teams. Is that a sign of something sort?
That's a great question. It's a sign of a sophomore, let's call it, relatively speaking, I think it's a sign of a sophomore slump in year 2, because, when was Four Nations? Well, Four Nations teams were announced like in January, right?
Yeah.
So he had the preseason in September, October, November, and December to work his way onto that team. Mm-hmm. He just didn't. Just like many second-year players don't come out of the gate guns a-blazing. So I don't know. I think in the long run that won't matter. I think it's right now it's more top of mind, but I don't think that that's going to hurt him long term. Is it a sign of something? I mean, I don't know, Josh. I think let's see what happens the first couple months of next season.
Follow-up question. If this is an official interview.
Yeah, I guess.
If we have NHL players in the Olympics, is it a bad hobby sign if he's not on the Canadian Olympic team?
Hugely bad at that point, I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
We have all bad takes on everything in hockey.
Thank you, Phil.
Ooh, welcome to the show, Phil.
Okay, I have a couple more cup questions for you guys. So my read on, I've seen a lot of cup cards now, is aside from I get people's points on, with honorable numbers sticking to the jersey number, and I think Billy said they're going to do that going forward. You have to be pretty nitpicky at this point to have much complaints. It seems like that he and the team and everyone at Upper Deck did a pretty good job on the cup this year. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I agree. I like what I see. The one thing, if I'm going to nitpick, is that last year on the honorable numbers, it told you why it was numbered to that number. This year, it's not on.
It was supposed to, and I think that was a oops.
Mm-hmm. Well, the hobby doesn't care what was supposed to or not supposed to. They're not on there. And so I had somebody sent me a picture today.
Gretzky is 3, right? And I don't think
this is what I'm getting. This is the exact scenario I'm talking about, Josh. Somebody in the States sent me a picture today of the Gretzky honorable numbers out of 3 and asked me, do you know what the 3 is all about? I said, I don't, but last year they included the reason, this year they didn't. I don't know what 3 is for Wayne Gretzky. I mean, is it, he has the most hat tricks in NHL history. I have no idea what it is. It loses, unfortunately, and I understand if it was a mistake by whomever, but the card loses. It's like taking on old collecting cards in the 80s. You turn the card over to read about the player, give you some context. There's no context on this. It's a mystery, and it's likely going to be lost unless some resource like, I don't know, maybe hockeychecklist.com can find out what they are and add it to their website. Otherwise, I believe that those reasons will be lost forever, and people will kind of chuckle at and be like, why? Nobody knows. Literally, Josh, I think this is a great opportunity for the hockeychecklist.com to add that clarity, because I don't know where else it'll ever be.
If those guys were smart, they'd probably do that, but let's not hold our breath.
I know those guys, and let's just say I'm a little skeptical it'll happen.
I'm a lot skeptical. So of their okay. So the last thing before we move on, because I'm very excited to talk about your consolidation efforts. Other than the, I think, completely expected sort of announcement, chatter, it was big news, the slab thing for a few days. I've seen very little to zero complaints over the past 4 or 5 days, especially as more and more of these cards are getting opened. Have you guys seen anything, or are you on the same page as me?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
on the same page as you. I haven't heard much, but that's how a lot of things in this hobby seem to be. Is it's hot for a week, and then after that, it just fizzles
I
off.
think you're being generous with a week. I think things get like the news cycle, the hobby news cycle is about 2 days.
You know, and coming out of the Edmonton Expo, where there was a lot of new cup being shopped around and in showcases, I did not hear one mention of the slab, good or bad. It just wasn't even an issue. I took in several for Slab Sharks, and no conversation around the slab at that point. No conversations are like while holding or looking at a card. I did have a conversation or two just about it, and I think the biggest kind of point that was discussed was, what do you do with these? Do you grade them or do you not grade them?
Mm-hmm.
And I think once, like, we're only 5 days in, I think you said 7 days in, whatever it is. So once the grading cycle kind of comes into force for this product, I think you'll start to hear more narrative about it, and especially grading results. Mm-hmm. Are people going to blame low grades on these cards being put in this new slab? I don't know. I'm just saying, you got to keep your mind open. And but I think it's cool. Like, let me rephrase. I think that the initiative is cool. I like what they're doing. I'm not a big fan of the blue color of it. When I see it, it kind of, I don't think that this particular slab is, I don't think that it's cup worthy, to be honest. I don't think that blue label is cup worthy. The slab itself, now that I've felt one, it's not as substantial as, say, a Beckett slab, which has kind of the squared off corners. The slab doesn't feel like luxury, is what the cup is a luxury product, and I don't think that this slab nor that label are luxurious.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think once more of these get cracked and graded, kind of like once the first guy gets up to the potluck at work, everybody follows. Once this starts trickling in, I think you're going to see a shift. Everybody's worried about that label, and I still think there's got to be a way to track it if that label were to go away.
I apologize to everyone in advance of this, but somebody made a reference to this label that I cannot get out of my head. They said, it looks like Unilever.
What's that?
Is that a Canada? Oh, they're the company that, like,
they make home products and stuff.
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah, the U, which means uncirculated, as we learned in our interviews with Upper Deck higher ups. And the other thing is, like, will this cause fewer people to grade them because the cards are in a slab? Yep. And is the condition really that important on a Bedard Cup RPA? Like, do people really care about the grade anymore on a card like this?
No.
I mean, people who are really a prisoner of grading, they will be. But and then the other thing is, they're not uniform with the rest of your collection. Like, I keep all my auto patches the way I keep them, in a top loader and then in a top loader holder, so they don't fall out. That's how I keep all my auto patches. This would have to go in my graded card box, but they're not graded. So now, do I need a new box for my cup RPAs in the blue U slab? Ooh, that's not a good name. I don't know.
Blew you blew. I
Correct.
have a theory on the grading comment that you just made. And to some degree, I think this follows my own experience a number of years ago. We've talked for a long time, and I think most people agree that like a Young Guns would be like an entry point into the hobby. And when you have whatever the print run is on a Young Guns, 50,000, 75,000, 100,000, right? You kind of very quickly learn that, well, a PSA 10 is one way to make a very common card somewhat rare, right? And when you're in 20 point non-auto, non-memorabilia cards, it is kind of a PSA 10 or bust mentality. And then I think the more typical, I don't think a lot of people start collecting RPAs, right? And then you, as you evolve in the hobby, you get exposed to more cards. Now you start to get interested in thick cup cards, and your mind is your only reference point is, well, PSA 10 or nothing. And then there's like a transitionary period you go through, and you learn that, well, actually, an 8 on a cup card is a really good grade. And honestly, as long as it's more important the eye appeal than the technical grade on the card. As long as it's, if it's a 5 and there's like a big like scratch down the middle of it, well, yeah, I mean that's going to hurt the card. But if it's just corner wear and it's a 7 on a cup card, nobody cares.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's the patch that really matters. The patch is what really sets aside or sets apart, stratifies the whole 99 card or 249 card run with it for each player. So I don't think that the grade, like on this Bedard card that we've been having the joy of looking at for so long now, I don't think the grade matters. And I do wonder if this continues by Upper Deck, putting these RPAs in these particular slabs, if people just won't bother grading them, because
maybe,
again, who cares? The competition, the status isn't, I don't believe, is in the grade. I believe the status is in the patch. And
but wouldn't the one exception be though what I call the double dimes, the PSA 10 auto 10? I mean, that you're gonna get. Yeah.
I want to really watch my language, but that will matter for the people who love to pay a premium for a souped up label on their card. Then yeah, and please, I will sell into that as much as I can. But sure that will matter. I mean, we can't deny the reality, which is people do attribute value to that. So.
So if I even had, we'll say 10 grand to spend on a card like this, the 3 on Card Ladder that went for 10.4, 10.7, 10.9, and even the $11,000 one, if I was in the market to do this, I would easily spend another couple grand for that patch, because these other ones are not that great.
I looked at them all too, and in context, I think this one is a good value. But getting back, so here's a question I have for both of you, and then maybe we'll move on after that. You get a tin of the cup, and you open it, and this card comes out, and you're going to sell it. What do? Do you just sell it as is in the holder, or to maximize value, do you crack it and grade it and then sell it?
You sell it just like this. We just established that it doesn't matter.
I think, yeah,
But we haven't seen a PSA sale yet, though. So do we know if it matters?
It's going to matter. Okay. I think it will matter, Louis, and it's for the weird reason. It's because I think fewer people are going to crack these out. There's risk in cracking it out. Right?
Oh, we've seen some people, named Schmill that it's a kind of a disaster when they crack cards.
So you risk damaging the card. So I think fewer and fewer people are going to crack these relative. So which means I think fewer. What I'm saying is I think that this is going to be the lowest frequency of grading for a cup set that we've ever seen. And because of that, those that grade well, to the contrary of what Louis said, I think it will matter because of the people who are kind of prisoner to the PSA set registry, or people who just really want their cards in PSA slabs. And I got to tell you, I love the PSA slab on the thick patch slab. I think thick auto patches look great in there. I don't think I would risk cracking this out in order to put in a PSA slab, because there's two risks: the risk that you damage the card, and then there's the risk that it comes back a 6 or less than an 8.
Well, and that I think so that maybe, Louis, to your point, here's a couple of things that I've thought of. Is I'll address what you just said first, Jeremy, is that as we know in the secondary market, anything not graded is seen as, well, it could be a 10, right? I mean, that's so you get that sort of bump where a raw is going to outsell a 7 probably every single day of the week. And then I wonder too, if one of the, whether it was an intended or unintended consequences, a huge part of maximizing value on a card like this is speed, right? Speed wins when it comes, get it quick on the market. I wonder if somehow this slab has given, where there isn't time to grade and sell within, this allowed people to immediately post their card up on Slab Sharks or wherever you sell it. And now, maybe it feels more secure or legitimate or authentic to a potential buyer, and they're willing to spend a little bit more money. I don't know. Do you think there's something to that?
I mean, yeah, I think there is, because you watch breaking, and I think breakers do their best to not impact the condition of the card whatsoever, but this is uncirculated. This is never touched by human hands on the secondary market. Someone put it in that slab, and that was the end of it. So, yeah, I think you make a good point there, Josh. And that is, I think, and never mind, we haven't even mentioned this in this discussion yet, but these are game-worn patches.
Yes.
And we know the game. That's huge. To me, this is the best art for that reason. It's uncirculated. I mean, I think they've done a couple of really good things here, but I still don't think that the label and the feel of the slab itself it doesn't feel like luxury to me.
Biggest miss of the cup was them not putting that game date on the back of the card.
That would have been.
Don't know why they didn't do that. Hopefully, yeah. Okay. Well, we have Jeremy Lee here. If you don't know that by now, I would say you're not paying attention to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, of course.
Thanks for
I
coming.
love having you on. Well, we've been hearing more and more about consolidation, whether people are doing it on their own or using services as a means to buy a big card or personal grail card. And I've thought a lot about this, and I think overall, my opinion, not knowing a ton about it, is it's a really good thing for the hobby. I think it helps both buyers and sellers. It helps buyers that, to some degree, I think you get, by just surfing social media or Instagram, you tend to think that everyone that's in this hobby is a millionaire and can spend $50,000 left, right, and any day of the week on any card they want. But the reality is that's a very, very small pool of people that have that level of disposable income. And then I think from a selling perspective, the same applies, right? It's like, you hit a $100,000 card and it's like, that's amazing. But when there's like 30 people in your total buying pool, that makes it very limited. And you better hope that 3 of those 30 people really have interest in that card or whatever the number is. And so I think from that perspective, it just makes big cards more accessible and creates a larger buying pool for sellers as well. And our guest host today, Jeremy, and I'll let you tell the story, but you're in the middle of kind of doing just that, where you identified a big card and you've gone through consolidation. And I'm going to let you tell the story about what you've done. And then I am going to Barbara Walters you with a whole bunch of questions that I have based on my curiosity.
All right, fun. I love talking about this. It's been my hobby story of 2025. And you said that you think that it increases the pool of people that can bid on cards that they otherwise couldn't. I think that's certainly true. The card that I bought, I would not have been able to bid on without a consolidation mechanism. And what that means is that the card I bought sold for more than it otherwise would have, which means that the fact that more and more people are consolidating, there are more consolidation services out there, I think that is pushing up the hobby. I think it's propping the hobby up maybe higher than it would otherwise be. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's just it's the result of some creative entrepreneurs. And you don't need a consolidation mechanism or service to do it. You could do it on your own if you want. You could just send all your cards to Slab Sharks and let them give you all your money and then go buy a card. But what that doesn't allow for is you to buy the card first, quickly, and have to have the money to do it. You need somebody to fund your purchase. So I used a company called Fund Your Cards, who's a sponsor of Sports Cards Live, my YouTube channel, my podcast. And I identified the card in the March premiere auction on Fanatics Collect. It's not a hockey card, so sorry to disappoint the hockey card loyalists here, but I'm a hockey card guy first, but I collect all the sports, and I love vintage baseball. And the card that I saw at auction was a 1914 Cracker Jack Joe Jackson. That was my card. That was the card that I wanted to purchase.
Okay, so question one, even before you saw this card come up from auction, is this just an idea or a strategy that you had been noodling around? Okay, if I identify like a Jeremy Lee grail, this is something I would consider doing.
No. And I'd had a year of working with Fund Your Cards as a sponsor of my show. And so a client of mine, and I had never really considered using it because I never needed to use it. The cards that I was buying were cards I could afford to just pay cash for.
Yeah.
So I didn't think I would need to use it. The card that I bought, the Joe Jackson, was a card that wasn't even on my want list because it was a pipe dream. I'll never own that card. To me, it's one of the three most important pre-war baseball cards, along with the the T206 Honus Wagner and the 1916 M101 Babe Ruth cards, his rookie card. To me, this is one of those cards. It's the card I've only seen on the covers of auction catalogs. It's a card I've only seen on the big, most important vintage cards in the world poster. It was just an image. It was something that I never thought I would buy or never thought I would be able to own. So it wasn't even on my want list. I'm not putting the T206 Honus Wagner on my want list. That's a much bigger card. This one wasn't even on there either. But I saw the card come up at auction on Fanatics Premiere. And my mind started racing, like, is there a way I can make this happen? Well, hang on. I'll talk to Mark from Fund Your Cards and let's see if I can get it done. So I went through the process of, talking to him, for learning how to do it, or not learning, just learning the real details how to do it. And we kind of talked about the bidding process and how much would I be willing to pay for it. And then I started to think, okay, well, I don't want to spend cash on this card. I want to do this purely with cards. That would be the ultimate experience for me. So I started thinking about my collection and my trader box as well. Could I come up with, how much value could I come up with to offset the cost? And I kind of realized, okay, I do have enough that I could probably make this happen. So I had a top price in mind. And I should also mention, leading up to the auction, because I had 10 days to figure things out and to really make a decision, make a humongous, like the biggest financial decision of my life outside of buying a house. Really, I had to decide on this. So I spent 10 days doing some intense research into the Cracker Jack set, into Joe Jackson, into all the different populations from the different grading companies, the chances he'd ever make the Hall of Fame, which was pretty funny because a month and a half later, he became eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
All the iconicism of him. I went through all the literature that I have on the top cards of the hobby, the top 200 sports cards in the hobby written by Joe Orlando back in, I think, 2002 or something like that. I went through the 100 most iconic cards of the hobby that Adam Gray spearheaded when he was with PWCC a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I went through everything I could. I talked to a couple. I kept my circle of influence very small. I didn't want the word to get out, but I consulted with a few trusted friends in the hobby on, am I missing something here? Like, I felt like the card was undervalued, all these different things. 10 days of intense research, then auction night comes. And, I cover the Fanatics Premier Auction, the Fanatics Collect Premier Auction,
Yeah.
the third Thursday of every month, I'm actually doing a live stream during the auction. So I knew I might be bidding while I was running a show. So the night comes and, you know, we get into extended bidding, and I go to make my bid. Now I have one of the, probably the very few people who have 2 Fanatics Collect accounts, because you're not allowed to have more than 2, but I have 2, one for bidding with and one for doing the show with. The one I do the show with, you can't bid with it. It's just for browsing. Bidding is not engaged. So on my phone, I have my bidding account. So I go to place my bid in extended bidding, and I realize that I'm logged out of the app for the first. I'm logged out of the app all of a sudden. I don't remember my password. So I had to. So I'm sitting there running the show, Josh. You know what it's like to run a show, a live stream, level up. And I'm sitting there going through password reset on my phone. Oh, look at this Gretzky rookie, guys. There's the registration, the setting. Meanwhile, I'm doing password reset, trying to get back into the account before the card sells. I'm calling Mark, and I go, Mark, I need you to bid for me. I'm locked out. So he goes in and places a bid for me. And then I get back in and I take over the bidding, and I end up going 25% over my max, which was a lot. It's a lot of money when you're in this.
Now, did you do that just because, like everyone else? I mean, auctions are engineered to not be defeated by our brains. They're engineered to defeat our brains, and you just, I'm sure, got swept up in the excitement. And
yeah, they're engineered to extract our money. And yes, I got caught up in it. But Josh, I had been obsessing over this card for 10 days, and in my mind, I kind of already owned it. And the possibility that I wasn't going to win that auction would have been devastating to me. I would have felt the loss of something I never owned in the first place for quite some time. I'd probably only start to be getting over it now.
Did you set, though, like I can't in good conscience go over this number sort of limit?
Well, so I had that number originally, and it was where I wanted to be. But when the bidding got past that, I set a new limit in my head during the live stream, during the extended bidding. And that new limit was, it was 25% more than what I wanted to spend. And I was very lucky, though, guys, because I knew when I placed my final bid, that was it. If it goes past that, I won't win the card. I'll be disappointed, but I'll be okay with it. And like, if I would have not been able to buy the card because I was locked out of my account, I would have been so mad.
So you were at your maximum. You weren't paying $5.
I wasn't. I put in my absolute max. And I'm thinking, additional cards am I going to have to give up for my collection now to make this happen? So when I put in my final bid, I was done. At that point, I was done. Lucky for me, I was the first person to put in that final bid because somebody else put in the same bid, and they stopped as well. So I know for sure there's one other person out there willing to pay the exact same amount that I did. And so that was it. I feel like I got to that level first, that bid increment first, and they weren't willing to go any higher, just like I wasn't. So I won the card. And then the auction ended, and at the end of the show, I kind of said to Adam Gray, my co-host, and to the audience, I said, I bought a card, know, and I showed what, and then we spent an hour talking about it at the end of the show.
And so obviously I can assume that you're obviously probably the biggest buying rush of your life, and that you've got this amazing card. It's very exciting. And kind of, thank you for doing that. That's a really good backdrop and context to anyone that's not familiar. But where I'm really interested in this is there had to have been a point where the endorphins run off, and now it hits you where you're like, I have to get rid of a lot of cards I probably love.
Yeah, it was that very night, Josh. As you know, I said goodbye to Adam, ended the live stream, said goodnight to Adam, and went to bed. And I got into a bit of a panic. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, I have to find this huge amount of value in my collection and just say goodbye to it. And I prepared myself the 10 days leading up, but Then
But
it
you
became
also
real.
went way over. So I'm assuming that it hit you that this is going to hurt a little bit, right?
It did. It did hurt. It did hit me that it was going to hurt a little bit. And then the next day I come down into my office here and I start going through my cards and I'm like, okay, you know, how can I, what's the best combination of cards to give up that I'm going to be the happiest with for the long term? Now, the nice thing was that I had a month to figure this out. I had a whole month because Mark from Fund Your Cards, the deal was he's going to now pay for it for me. He's going to spend his own money. He's going to fund Your Cards. He paid for the card.
Now,
So,
can I ask a mechanics question of how this works? So if you go through like that service or another, you don't get, it's kind of like layaway, right? You don't get the card until, I mean, that's his collateral, right? To make sure he gets his money. And then, so
exactly.
you got to now fund it and then he'll send the card to you.
Exactly. That's how it works. Now, there's a couple things there. First is that he doesn't just do this out of the kindness of his heart. He charges you a fee on top of what he pays. So the card actually cost me more than the final bid. So as I'm bidding, I'm factoring in the buyer's premium on Fanatics and the lending fee from Fund Your Cards. So yeah.
Okay.
Now you're right. It is collateral. It is layaway. I said I had a month until I had to make my decision, but because I have a special relationship with Mark, I know him personally. I know his family. I say I know. I met his father and I met his brother at Fanatics Fest last year. And he's been a client of mine, a sponsor of my show. He trusted me. So we made an arrangement. It ended up working out that we met in person and he gave me the Joe Jackson card. And at that point I gave him my card. So he didn't have his money back. And he didn't know if the cards I gave him would settle my debt with him. But we're working through it right now. And I said, hey, if it's not enough, I'll send you more, or I'll just send you the money and sell the cards myself, whatever I have to do, you know?
Okay.
Well,
What, at any point afterwards, did you regret it when you were going through and putting cards into the sell pile that you really didn't want to?
I didn't regret it, but I did ask myself, like, what have I done? Like, I did ask myself, what have I done? Because I started going through my cards and I was so lucky that I had a month because I knew that in about in a worst case scenario, I would see him in a month. So I had to hand off cards. So that month, I spent a lot of time, Josh and Louis, going through my collection and deciding what to move. The first group of cards were right out of my card show trader inventory box.
Yeah, the first pass is the easiest, right? I mean, it's the fifth and sixth pass that gets done.
Yeah. And then I had to go through everything else and be like, okay, like what do I want to give up? What can I separate myself from? And I just started going through just everything I own. Like I have about 1,600 cards in my collection that are in my spreadsheet. I got more, but the cards that are like spreadsheeted, which is where most of the value is going to be, were 1,600 cards. And it took about 300 to do this, just to give you more context. Now,
that's about what, 20%?
Yeah,
of your PC you had to get rid of?
Yeah. So the cool thing when I look back on the experience was I pulled out a new spreadsheet and I started adding cards to the spreadsheet and estimating what I thought they would bring at sale. And I had to get myself to the magic number. And I have to think by right now in this podcast, Josh, if people are wondering, like, what did he pay for the card? Because we're talking about it like it's a secret. It's not a secret. 250 people saw me do it live. You know what I mean? And now
it was like 150 grand, right? US.
The final bid I made was 125,000 US dollars plus the 20% buyer's premium took it to $150,000 USD. That's a lot for a Canadian. And then there was the fee on top of that of 10%, which would be another $15,000.
You must have felt like everyone has their hand in your cookie jar for a minute, huh?
It's a lot. And then there's the exchange rate. It's like I calculated to be this card to me. I figure this card is, however you put it, what it's worth, what I'm into it for, about 225,000 Canadian dollars. way more than I've ever spent on a card before.
Yeah.
But I didn't spend it. Like I spent cards to get it, which is the cool piece. So that next month was a crazy month for me, but I took it. I was very comfortable and calm and cool about it. Built up the first round of the cards I'm going to give up. That was draft number one. I got to about $160,000 USD worth of cards that I was giving up for the Joe Jackson.
And you don't know what these are going to auction for. So if you need to come up with 165,000 US or whatever the number was, is your mindset, well, I should probably try to sell 180,000 in cards just to make sure I cover it?
That's in essence what my mindset was, but instead I just was very conservative with my estimates.
Oh, okay.
I was very conservative with what cards would sell for. I tried to give him more cards so that I'd actually maybe have some credit with him and could say, hey, I found another card I want. You got my money. Just please buy it for me. So I did the first pass, got to $160,000. But there were a couple of cards that I didn't really want to give up. I was really struggling with my 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson rookie that I've had for 12 years. I didn't want to give that one up. And there was a Shaquille O'Neal Essential Credentials card I really did not want to give up. So I went through a second round of consolidation mindset. I said, okay, now I'm going to buy back the Jackie Robinson card back to my collection. What cards can I now extract out of my collection to salvage the Jackie? So it was a whole new game. Now I'm trading for a Jackie Robinson card. You know what I mean? Out of my own collection. And then I did it again for the Shaquille O'Neal card. And these are big cards. Like the Jackie's 40 grand, the Shaquille O'Neal's about 40 grand as well. So out of 160, I kind of then
half of the value you had to buy back.
I had to find another way to get there. And I did. And a couple of the biggest sections of my collection that I ended up giving up, I think this might be one of your questions, but if I can jump into that,
yeah, go ahead.
So for 15 plus years, I've owned the complete C56 1910 set, the very first set of hockey cards. It's a 36 card set. And I decided, listen, I'm getting a vintage card from 1914. I can give up some vintage. So I decided to break up that set. I did the same with my 1911 C55 set, which wasn't complete. I had it 2/3 done. I had 32 of 48 cards. And I decided that, listen, I'm going to salvage the best cards out of these sets, but I'm not going to have the set anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm going to keep like the C50.
You're going to keep the Vezina or the Cyclone Taylor right. And then.
Exactly. Like in the 1910 set, I kept these 6 cards.
Did you keep Frank Patrick?
I did. Here, I'm just going to move.
Me and Phil are both looking for that. Coincidentally, there was 0 Frank Patricks at the Spring Expo. Because both of us want to have the first hockey card ever made.
There was one at the Edmonton Expo. I saw at least one there, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I kept the Newsy Lalonde. I kept the Cyclone Taylor, the Frank Patrick card number 1. Both Art Ross cards I managed to salvage, and the Lester Patrick. So those were the 6 that I kept. And I also, from the C55 set, I kept the Vezina, the Joe Malone, which are the 2 key rookies in the set. And then I kept the Lalonde and the Art Ross. I love the Art Ross from that set. So I managed to keep the best cards from both sets, but I gave up I don't want to call them commons because they're all basically pioneers and most of them are Hall of Famers and they're all basically rookie cards, especially the 1910 set. But I gave them up. And that was tough. That was tough to do because I'd always known that I had the whole complete set of the first year of hockey cards. That's been a really cool.
Did you feel like that was a crime against the hockey hobby?
For me to get to break it up?
No, I'm just kidding.
You know what? No, there's 2 benefits of it in addition to helping me get the Joe Jackson. One is, and just in the last, like, they all just sold on Sunday on Fanatics Collect. Mm-hmm. And they did well. I was actually, my conservatism paid off. And
well, that's the right platform for those cards. We did the hockey show for 2 years or something like that, 1.5 years. And those pre-war vintage do very well on that in that auction.
Yes, they did really well. I was very happy with it. And so the two benefits are, number one, in the last couple of days, I've been getting email after email from the PSA set registry with a removal request because the new buyers want to add them to their registry. So I'm really glad that other set registry, because this was, I had this on the registry, it was number 11 on the set registry, and they're going to other collectors who I know are going to really enjoy them and value them. So that's one benefit. The other benefit, and this is one that I wouldn't have expected, but it's happened, is that now that when I go through my vintage hockey box, you know, this is the amount of tobacco cards that I have, instead of, you know, this many, instead of having 36 and 32, instead of having 68, I only have 10 now. I find it much easier to pull this stack out and enjoy it than flipping through all the guys that I don't really know much about to get to the main guys, the Art Rosses, the New Zealand Lawns, the George Vezinas. So I feel like I'm going to enjoy these cards more now that I don't have the others that were kind of drowning them out a little bit.
Well, I think I told you this before, but I've sort of had this like personal goal at some point where I don't know what the number will be, but it's like I would be very happy if I had like 50 cards in my collection. And then my own game would be to, because I think that there is a, you know, there's a hoarding aspect to this hobby. Like, how many cards do you buy? And then a year later, I'm like, did I really need this? Do I really enjoy this? Is this really, what am I doing? Right.
Yeah.
Sort of with these cards. And like my thought is, well, if I had 50 cards and then the game was to knock, you know, one in, one out sort of approach, and to be constantly optimizing and try to come up with the best 50 cards I can for my collection, that you know, would I be happier than having 6,000?
Yeah.
You know, cool, but then there's the whole store. It's like storage, and how do you enjoy that many? And you just end up shoving them in boxes and forgetting you own them, right? I mean, that happens, I think, a lot.
And that's been another benefit, Josh, for me, is that now when I'm shopping for cards, I'm much more selective, because I think to myself, is this a card that I would have given up to get the Joe Jackson? Like I was able to salvage I feel I'm very fortunate. My collection, yes, it's not what it was before this whole transaction occurred, but I still have a killer collection that I absolutely love. And
Sure.
And now it's just a tighter collection. And I feel like it's going to save me money down the road, because I'm not going to buy cards that I might have bought before. I don't think I will. I might. We'll see. Maybe I'll fall back into my old ways, but I feel like I'm more disciplined now as a function of this whole transaction, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. So I have some kind of like more like quick hitting type questions then. So what's the hardest hockey card you had to move on from? The one that hurt the most?
Oh boy. I mean, it's probably those sets, but I also parted ways with my Wayne Gretzky 1980s O-Pee-Chee run. You know, all like mostly PSA 10s. That's something that I've been, you know, really enjoyed doing. And I decided I don't need, one of the things that I thought I could get away from were cards that are only valuable because of the grade. I mean, there's a million 1983 Gretzky's out there. I had a PSA 10. It's worth a couple $1,000 or something like that.
Sure.
I'm into it bought it way back for way less, probably 10% of what it's worth. So now's a good time. This is an opportunity to get out of that card. If I want to own that card, I can go buy a beautiful PSA 8 for 5% or 2% of the price of a PSA 10 and still own a copy of the card. I don't care about condition scarcity. I don't care about PSA 10s for the sake of PSA 10s anymore. I did it one time. I feel like I've seen the light. I've evolved as a collector. You know, I've considered myself to be an advanced collector for quite some time now, but I feel like I've even ascended past that now with this move and my lack of willing to pay a premium for a grade on a card, which means that I should be willing to sell my cards that I have that are only worth anything because of the condition that they're in, when it's a very high print run card. However,
Well, Phil will talk about the ego with that though, and I think that does come into it, and he's very honest when he says that if there, I don't know what the pop is, but I'm just making stuff up. So if you have a early '80s Gretzky pop 12 and you have one of them, well, you're one of the 12, and you have to get past that, right, in order to have a very high eye appeal, beautiful 8 that is not, that's more ho-hum from a.
well, the 1985 O-Pee-Chee Wayne Gretzky is a pop 21, I think, and that was a pretty low pop for amongst all 1980s Gretzky's, and that was a tougher one to give up because of what you're talking about. But I'm certain that there are PSA 9s that are nicer than PSA 10s of that card. I know that. So I'm just like, again, I'm past the point of PSA 10 ego. To me, I just that to me is silly at this point. And so yeah, I mean, it was tough to give up on the Gretzky project, but I can do it again, and I don't need 10s. I can do it again for, instead of $50,000, I can do it for $2,000 and still have beautiful cards. Like,
are there any hockey cards that you have sold in order to fund this card where you've already decided, okay, at some point I'm going to probably buy that back?
No, that's another thing. Like, this is the second time in the 2020s where I've given up a chunk of my collection for something. It was for personal reasons in 2023, but in 2025, it was for a card. And there's a couple I wouldn't mind getting back, but I have no regrets. Like,
well, that says something, right?
I think it says that I've made good decisions on what to give up. And listen, when I was going through this process for a month on the Joe Jackson, like, I was back and forth, guys. Back and forth on some cards. Okay, in the giveaway pile, out of the giveaway pile. Like even the 85 Gretzky, I tried to salvage that one at first, but then I decided that the Shaquille O'Neal was a more important card to me because there's only 74 ever made. I'd rather have that one in my collection. I can go buy another 85 Gretzky. I don't care about PSA 10. I just don't care about many PSA 10s used to be 9s anyway, right? I mean, it's just that people resub for a reason. So I'm just not willing to assign so much value to as much value to PSA 10s as other people are in the hobby. And this was a great opportunity for me to put my money where my mouth is when it comes to that, and kind of get out of some of them that I just think that the value isn't warranted personally. So not to say the value isn't there, just that it isn't warranted in many cases. So, but a hockey card, like, I don't think I'll rebuild my 1910 or 1911 set. I don't anticipate myself doing that.
Well, you started doing those when it was, that's a spendy endeavor these days. I mean, it's a big financial commitment where, and I've heard you talk about it enough, and we've had conversations enough where you were smartly early to the bit and we're gobbling them up on the cheap a number of years ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, certainly that's true. Like, if when I say to you that, I bought a card, or I say to somebody, let's say I bought a card for $150,000 USD, but I have all the details. Like, I know every card I gave up, what I have into it. I'm a CPA. I keep the data. And so when I flush it out, and I have two ways I can look at it. One is, no, you're into it for 150 grand because you could have sold those cards and kept the money. Or I can look at it like, well, the cards that I sold for 150 grand, I was into for 60 or 70 or 80,000, something like that. I will look at it both ways just to be happy in my mind about the whole thing, sort of thing, and to get comfortable with it. But if I were to just transfer the value, like roll it over, I'm into this card for way less than what the comp will
It's
show.
like buying a house and selling it and rolling that money into a new house, right? It's a rollover investment at that point. So what advice would you give to anyone that hasn't tried this approach before, having gone through it now yourself?
I mean, it's convenient. If you see a card that is beyond your means, like cash wise, but you have the cardboard equity to do it. But it takes time to sell cards to get the money to buy your new card. And by the time you get that money, that card could be sold. It could be long gone. So you don't get to buy it, especially on a rare card like my Joe Jackson or some fancy 101 or whatever it might be. All I would say is, don't maybe rush into it, and just be really mindful with the cards you're going to give up. Like I've been very mindful with this. And I got to tell you guys, I was lucky I had that whole month to figure it out. I did have to ship the cards out to Fund Your Cards right away. So I got to go through iteration after iteration of what cards I was giving up. And I think I landed on the perfect combination of cards from my collection or my ownership to give up for the Joe Jackson. So my advice is just be comfortable in what you're doing. Really know the direction that you want to go with your collecting career, with your collection. And this worked out really. It was an opportunity to tighten up my collection. The other thing is that, like, Mark at Fund Your Cards, he'll take any card from you. Like, he'll take dollar cards to pay off $150,000. So I got rid of stacks of cards that I just have lying around that I'm not putting out the effort to sell them. Here, Mark, get rid of these.
So that was a decluttering component to this too.
Exactly. It's a decluttering. It was a decluttering activity for me. I even gave him some non-card items. I had some graded Nintendo games and Atari games that I bought on Fanatics Collect a few years ago. I think I had 6 altogether. I've kept 2. I have Pitfall and Asteroids sitting right there, but I got rid of the other ones because I just wasn't enjoying them after a bunch of time. So you can use it to achieve many goals, and you can also consider I think the most important thing, Josh, it's a great question and I wasn't ready for it, so I'm thinking it through as I talk it through. I think the most important advice I can give is really consider how your collecting behavior is going to change after the transaction is done, because again, consider that it could incentivize you or motivate you to be more mindful with your hobby budget moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll admit, like, I was just kind of lazy about it, but I thought about doing this, like, within the last few months. I can't remember where it was. It might have been on a Fanatics auction, and I never remember. I always get confused between the now and future essential credentials, but there was a Gretzky, the pink one, the low numbered future. Is that the future? And it was like a $25,000 card, something. So not on the scale of that. But it did cross my mind. It's like, would it be worth it to?
Well, one other thing to consider is the fee, because you have to pay these guys to borrow their money, right? This is what they're doing. They're putting their money to work.
The juice is running.
Right? The VIG, right? You're paying the VIG on this. But the cool thing, and listen, I know there are other guys that do it. I think Slab Sharks is even doing it as well.
Yeah.
Who we're both in business with.
Well, we talked to a guy that I think his name IG Edition Sports Cards that got the McDavid High Gloss.
Yes.
From Slab Sharks doing this. So, and I think there's going to be more and more services.
You have to consider paying the VIG on this. Now, again, I haven't really thought it through with Slab Sharks, and I will, but with Fund Your Cards, one of the benefits that how I was able to rationalize the 10%, it's a 10% fee. How I was able to rationalize that 10% was that Mark he has good arrangements with other sellers to get you more of that final amount paid by the buyer. So you get more than, just the hammer price on Fanatics, let's say. You're going to get a bit better rates with because he's got a relationship with the PSA Vault.
He's bringing more. He's offering more cards to those platforms in exchange for better rates.
So you're going to get more money. So that's kind of how I rationalized it. Plus, it was just I just wanted this. You just want the card, and it's a great service. It's just a really convenient service. I will most likely use it again, but not at this magnitude. Not at this magnitude. Like low 5 figures versus, into the 6s.
Okay, so Baba Louie, on a relative scale, and the number to me isn't important because it's an individual thing. But do you ever imagine, again, whether it's 500,000 or $5,000, do you ever imagine yourself, like, if there was a card that you thought, geez, this would be like a grail for me now that, do you think you'd ever consider something like this, or do you enjoy having a bigger, broader collection?
I think I would if I had a bigger, broader collection. But, a year and a half ago, I completely offloaded,
Yeah, you did a reset.
started over. So right now, there's nothing I would get rid of, but give it another year or two.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Why not? There's going to be stuff that I'm like, somebody else could probably be better off with this than me. And it gives me an incentive to take these cards and try to get this one that I want.
Yeah.
So absolutely. It's freaky, scary at the same time because, you're putting all these cards, you got to sell these cards.
Yeah.
Right. So like you were saying,
Well, they do it for you, right? These services do it for you.
but cards have to sell. You know what I mean?
The cards have to sell for sure.
And you got to be really good at estimate. Now, you've done auction shows for 4 years, been in the hobby for a long time, so you're very well equipped to judge a card. And hopefully, these services offer some consulting. Like, if you think you have $100,000 worth of cards and it's really $30,000 worth of cards, that could be a big problem.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, is that these guys will strategize with you as well. At least market fund your cards. He will strategize. Like, when I met with him and gave him my cards, I sat with him for 4 hours and he was making piles. Okay, these ones we're going to sell on Slab Sharks. These ones we're going to sell on Fanatics. These ones are going to go to MC, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And he knows how to do that. Like, that's his specialty. So I also feel like when you are going to work with a consolidator, work with one who you trust has your best interest in mind. They're not just going to try to offload these as fast as possible. They're going to work with you. Like, Mark will let this drag on for months if I want to sell. There's some items I said, just hold on to them. We're going to sell that one in October. I think it's going to be worth more in October. Let's wait. He's like, no problem. So, wow. But you said it well. There is consulting involved in this. Mm-hmm. But make sure, if you're going to do this, I mean, you got to make sure that the card don't go do this for a PSA 10 McDavid Young Guns. I mean, there's no rush on that. There's just no rush, I feel. I wouldn't do it for a Gretzky rookie unless you have your mind set on it. Like, it's up to you. I think you want to do it on a card that isn't going to pop up all the time.
Sure.
Well, and another important thing, Phil and I, we do the top 5 sales of the week, and we a lot of times feature big sales. And one of the things I'll often do in that context is we'll look at, well, what did this card? So this card sold for $30,000 this week, and then holy crap, 2 years ago it sold for $96,000, right? And so I would think another thing too is that just because cards are a lot of money doesn't mean they can't go down in value. So you better make sure that aside from nobody wants to lose $50,000 on a card. And I think too, like, some people, I snicker at this because I think some people take the attitude, well, it's a rich person. They don't care if they lost 50,000. You don't get rich by, not caring about losing $50,000. That's not how people accumulate wealth in the first place. Mm-hmm. But all that being said, it can happen. Like, there's this Joe Jackson, and I know there's not a lot of copies. One could sell for $50,000 3 years from now. So you better make dang sure that you love the card and are willing to, because obviously the value of those $300 cards, it's like an index fund versus a stock, right? You're kind of betting on the general market value over 300 cards, where you're in for it for one stock in 1914 Joe Jackson.
Yeah, and that's why I spent 10 days going hardcore. Like, I literally 4 hours a day for 10 days, getting my head around and just making sure I was comfortable with the card. And it's just so crazy how literally a month later, the MLB announces that he's eligible for the Hall of Fame.
That was lucky.
That was extremely lucky. I think the card would have sold for more had that auction happened like a week after that announcement. So That's great. The other thing is that I also forecasted what I think the card is actually worth. Now I know it's worth what someone will pay. It's worth what I paid really at this point, but I think it's undervalued relative to some other things. And so I feel like, yeah, the cards I gave up, most of them are going to go up in value over time. I think this card is going to exceed that over time. And that's important. Like, I'm a collector, but when I'm talking about, never mind 6 figures, even 4-figure expenditures, even high 3-figure expenditures, I consider that I'm taking money away from my family and I'm putting it into cardboard. So there has to be there has to be value at the end of the day. I'm not willing.
Well, I mean, that card could fund college for one of your kids.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, well, and again, I mean, well, congratulations on your card. And I'm glad that you got a personal grail, but I think the value, there it is. Wow.
There it is.
The value in the conversation is that this is becoming more and more popular. And I think a lot of people are going to be tempted, because it is tempting, right? We all want, it does make a cards that normally have not been accessible more, it's like more possible to a number of people. And I think this is going to be more and more popular, and very entrepreneurial people like Karn or the gentleman you're working with, and other people are going to find creative ways to make it, because the one part, and it sounds like that this gentleman you work with has a good service around this, is that, nobody wants a hassle either, right? I mean, we want it all. We don't want to pay for a big card, and we just want somebody to do all the work for us. And
exactly,
that's human nature. But all right, personal pickups time. Jeremy, you sent some new PC pickups to Bob and Louie. Joe Jackson, we saw that. It's okay.
I kept the show tonight to hockey cards, because this is the Hockey Cards Gongshow. So I do have some non-hockey pickups outside of the Joe Jackson, but I only sent him my hockey pickup. So yeah, I'm happy to share those with you guys.
All right. Well, I put them in the order you gave them to me, and I did a little guessing on years.
Okay.
Let's see how good I did.
All right, let's see.
But we'll start with the first one.
Yeah, so that you got the year right on that one, Louis. Way to go, buddy. Yeah, take a victory lap on that one. Okay. Yeah, this one and the next one of the same player. You may as well just show that too quickly, Louis, because if you can. You had to skip through another beauty there. Yeah. So these two Joe Thorntons, I bought these Sunday morning at the expo. I walked by a booth, a guy who I knew, seen him around. And he had these two cards in the corner of a showcase, and they were like two of very few that weren't priced. And I think that was the situation, if I remember correctly. Anyway, I asked him how much they were. He told me. We did a quick negotiation. I mean, they were already well priced, but of course you're going to negotiate a little bit. And I bought the pair. And I like Joe Thornton. He had a great long Hall of Fame career. Never won a Stanley Cup, unfortunately. I love that. Look at these patches, 2 3-color patches, San Jose colors, numbered 1 of 19. I thought was really cool. And then the foundations is out of 5 vertical foundations. And I just thought it was such a nice looking card. That little bit of orange coming out of the bottom left patch kind of gives the card a whole new different dimension, whether, versus it being all, the teal, the black, and the white or whatever. So a beautiful pair right there that I just love, and they're going into my personal collection. How long will they stay there? I don't know exactly. These aren't cards that I was searching for, but I buy things that just stick out to me, and these ones stuck out to me. And the other thing to mention is that he only put them out Sunday morning. He didn't even have them in the showcases on Friday or Saturday.
Oh, wow.
I think I was lucky to see them and buy them when I did. I think they would have been snapped up by someone else if I didn't. So those are 2 of them. I think I sent you 3 or 4.
This one. Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this one, this Yzerman exquisite endorsement relics auto patch out of 10. I mean, look at the autograph. Bold blue. Yzerman's autograph is so nice. A simple 2-color patch. It's about as, you're not going to get more than that on Red Wings. It's not part of the wing or the wheel, but still a very nice card. And this card came to my booth, actually. And I bought it from the guy that he brought it to my booth. And I bought that card. I also bought this one from him, which is not a PC card. It's from Ingrained. The the Yzerman stick auto. So this one will end up, in my next card showcase. But the beautiful thing about the endorsement relics is that I already had the one from the previous year, the All-Star piece. So now I've got the Red Wing piece and the All-Star piece. The Red Wing piece, I actually purchased this at Fanatics Fest out of a guy's showcase last year. So this pairs really nicely with this.
Nice.
And I love pairing cards together.
That's cool. Let's see. Then you had this guy.
Yeah, so this one, it's nice. It's too bad Phil's not here, being a Senators card, but you got the year right, Louis. 2011-12. 11-12, the Cup gold patch parallel to the base, numbered out of 10. You probably know this, Josh and Louis, but I collect these from all the years. And going back to 05-06, it was actually the 11-12 set that got me started. And then I went backwards to 05. And I've now, I think I've got just under 450 total cards of these. And that's part of my 1,600 card
And you
collection.
didn't give up any of those, huh?
No, I did not give up any of those. No.
On behalf of Phil, I'd like to offer you of his money $60,000 US for this card.
Sold.
Okay.
Sold. Thank you very much. Invoices in the mail.
Just tell him that he owes you $60,000.
Happy to do that. But it is nice that this card does tie into the Ottawa Senators, because the next one, not yet, Louis, but the next one you're going to show ties into you Minnesota guys. But I love these cards, and their game use patches across the board. I used to be a set collector as a kid. This is my way of still being a set collector. I always say I'm not a slave to a checklist, which is funny, hockeychecklist.com, because I don't want cards of common players anymore. But when it comes to the Cup and these patches, I'm willing to keep on buying them. I did, though, Josh, consider giving some of these up in my Joe Jackson consolidation project and stopping this collection. But this is something that I've been working on for 13 years. It's kind of one of those things that it's a consistent theme in my collecting. So I want to keep it going, and I'm going to, at least for now. And so this one, I picked them up. If I don't have it, like I said, I'm almost at 450. I still need plenty, but I still chip away, and they're not expensive. So it's a great thing to collect.
You know how you just mentioned, and many people say very metaphorically that they're not a slave to a checklist. I am literally a slave to a checklist. So
I hear you talk about that. Yeah, I know you are. You're a slave to every checklist.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I gotta find this next one. We gotta talk. This is a beautiful card.
Yeah. So
That's
this,
awesome.
I love this card. I remember in 2000 when Gaborik and I always thought Gaborik and Havlat are tied, like Crosby and Ovechkin. They're related. They came into their rookie cards are in the same sets. I've always had a place in my hobby heart for Gaborik and Martin Havlat, for that matter. But this exact card here was listed on eBay for a long time at a buy it now more than I wanted to pay. The guy finally switched it over to auction, and I won the auction. And it's kind of cool. I didn't realize till after I won it, it's 10 of 10, which is his jersey number. So kind of cool. Nice 3-color patch. I love the 07-08 Cup gold patch parallel set. And it was just, the timing was perfect with being on the Gong Show that it's a Marian Gaborik Minnesota Wild card. And now this one, I'm kind of cheating because it's not in hand yet, but it'll get here eventually. So
That's only Phil's drum roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his drum roll.
Oh, he's not here to
no
excuse me. So.
He's nursing his new smackers.
His what?
New lips.
Oh, he had some he had some cosmetic surgery. Phil, I'm not surprised Phil would have cosmetic. He seems like that kind of guy.
Needed it.
Oh, he did.
I can argue that.
Right.
He did.
Anything else, or is that it?
I think was that it? Was that it, Louis?
That was it.
What about you, Baba Louie? Do you have any pickups?
I do. So I really can't decide for October in Saskatchewan what card I want Mr. Trottier to sign. So I picked up another one. And then I'm like, I don't know if this one's going to work because the spot above the patch is pretty close to his face. I don't know if it'll work, but It's a 2013-14 Artifacts dual patch out of 15. Nice patches. Brian Trottier.
Brian Trotter.
Oh,
Trotter.
yeah.
Trotter.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the other word that I do that on?
Nipple, a triple. You call it.
Triple.
Yeah, you spell it like nipple. Yeah.
Hey, Louis, really quick. I went through a couple years where I was collecting specifically the Artifacts dual patches out of 15. These are the golds. I think these are absolutely beautiful cards. I just want to small, but they're nice, great layout. And I was collecting them from various years. It was just something I couldn't continue with. It was, too much stuff, but I love these cards, Louis. Beautiful taste.
When I got it in hand here, I was like, honestly, I don't even care if maybe I won't have him sign this one. I kind of like this one just the way it is. So
I would do orange paint pen over the jersey if I got this one signed.
The next 3 cards I got all came in. I'm not kidding you. The first trade I have done in probably 25 years. Wow. I was going after this main one, and it's all I wanted. He threw in a couple. The third one's just something I never even knew about, but I got my hands on an 04, 05 Bowman Chrome Gold Refractor out of 50 Madonna.
I got to hold it yesterday. It was beautiful.
Those cards, I own a couple. It's almost like the surface is fluid. It's like it's swimming. Those are one of the most beautiful refractors ever made.
Yeah, I love it. I couldn't believe it when I got it. I was just like, oh, this is so much better than I thought. Gorgeous. And then didn't need to. You know who you are. I appreciate you. But he threw in a 0203 SPL nice. Sign of the Times buyback Madonna. And then wasn't expecting this, but I'd never even knew these existed. 0304 Topps Lost rookie cards. Like
Louis, I have the set in a binder here.
Those are awesome. So cool. Yeah, I saw it and I'm like, oh, what is this? And I looked at the serial number the number on the back and LRC. What the heck is that? So I had to go look it up. I'm like, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a small set. It's like 10 or 11 cards, I think. And they made them for players who could have theoretically had an earlier rookie card because they just didn't make a card for them. Like Brett Hall. Brett Hall's rookie card has 4 years of stats on the back. So he has one in this set as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's just cool card.
Cool card. Yeah. Well, you guys made me look bad. So I have one little minor purchase doing a checklist. This checklist site cost me money constantly because I was working on the 1995-96 top set and I don't have any of the marquee men. I got I think it's the Power Boost. It's super cheap, but I just think they're really cool. I got Pavel Bure.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Those are cool.
In hand, they're these are pretty cool. And any Bure card in the skate, that's what they call it, right? The Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is pretty cool. And that's what I do. I upload checklists and I end up buying all the cool cards on it.
Well, these marquee men cards, I know them pretty well. They're really nice in hand and they're super affordable compared to some others. So
yeah,
you can put together a really nice collection of a player like Pavel Bure, like someone who played in the 90s with some nice 90s cards for relatively an inexpensive price. There's even some nice Gretzky's you can buy in sets like this. So
I think I spent $15 on this or something like that.
Oh, see that Louis showing the Brodeur right now, and now you get a better idea of just how shiny that card is. Looks way better in hand than in 2D on our screen.
Yeah, I just happen to have it next to me. So
and honestly, the best part of the checklist site for me has been there's no way to really do it without almost looking at every card in the set.
Mm-hmm.
And so what an education it's been in the history of hockey cards, right? And I've learned a lot about, and that's where we do our hidden gem segment, that comes from, being we on last show, but these the clear cut superstars from 2016, right? 1 in 10,000 odds to hit a Ovechkin, $20, and it's a cool card.
And how many were there available, and how many of them did you buy?
There were 3, and I bought all 3. Because I get excited. I'm like everybody else. Like Jeremy bids $30,000 more than he's supposed to, and I buy all 3.
Yeah, I wanted to go 100 plus BP, which would have been 120. I ended up going 125 plus. So I went from 120 to 150, which is $30,000 more, plus the VIG, plus the foreign exchange.
It's pretty wild when you're like on a phone and like, oh, here's a car. You know.
Here's the incremental bid that's a car. Never mind.
Yeah, it's like, holy moly.
You have all bad takes on everything in hockey.
Yeah. Oh, what, Phil?
I got a little package.
Exactly.
Yeah, then take the day off and see what happens. Okay, well, we did it. Thank you, Jeremy. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you, guys.
Baba Louie is probably dying of illness, and
well, I try not to get up out of my seat. I keep looking about 6 feet away from me is my drink, and I'm just like, okay, come on, guys, I need that.
All right, well, we're done. Thank you very much. But before we say goodbye, not that probably everyone doesn't know, but where can people check out your content? Do you got anything coming up in the near future that we should all be aware about?
Well, as you know, as you guys know, Sports Cards Live runs pretty much every Saturday night on YouTube, on my Sports Cards Live YouTube channel, 3 words. And I'll be doing Josh and I did the Fanatics Collect Weekly Hockey Auction Show on Sunday nights we did 80 episodes. I now do all the sports, so that's on about 3 Sundays a month. And podcast is where you can listen to my podcast. And I just today released some of these auction shows on their own pod. So I released a new podcast called Sports Cards Live Auction Nights, and that's where I'm going to be putting the auction audio tracks on there. So if anyone can't get enough of my content, you can, once you're done listening to all the Gong Show content and some of mine, you can go listen to a bit more, even if you'd like.
And those are all on Apple, Spotify, all the big podcast apps, I assume? Okay.
Exactly, yeah. And Instagram, I'm jlee_Sports Cards Live.
Go give Jeremy a follow. Thank you so much for your contributions. If you like the episode, please leave a rating, review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, if you love Baba Louie, who doesn't? And you want to support us, you want to chat with us on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider $5 a month donation. Join our $2.99 support level tier on Patreon. You can find the link in the show description in both YouTube and the podcast apps, and our Instagram, TikTok profile, on our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, or on Patreon's website directly. That's patreon.com. And all you got to do is search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. We're on social media. Give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And boys, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollarbox Ventures, LLC. Baba Louie, take us out, buddy.
Bye.
It's the Gong Show. We're dropping the facts. Hockey cards on fire. No holding us back. Josh looking sharp, the face of the scene. Feeling pork chop pants, rocking it clean. Baba Louie in the booth, he's the man with the plan. The best producer in all the land. Gong Show Nation, let's hit the flow. It's the Hockey Cards Gong Show. Let's go, let's go. One say the minute show.
Suck it, Trebek!